Real quick, I want to tell y'all about a way that y'all can make some extra cash right from your phone. It's 100% legit. And I know a lot of people like do these ads and it kind of seems like it's too good to be true, but let me really put y'all on games so y'all understand exactly what it is. It's called free cash, and they actually will pay you for playing games on your phone, literally. Free cash works with app games to help them find new users exactly like yourself. And basically they're willing to invest and pay new users to play the games because they basically want to bet on the fact that you will like the game. And a lot of times people actually do like the game. And the investment for them is you end up making the app money because you continue to play the game because, like I said, you actually like it. And what free cash does is they put some of that money that you earned back into your pocket. And if you already play games on your phone anyway, it's perfect because now you can actually get paid for playing games on your phone. You can make a completely free account with just an email and a password. Now y'all know about me, I'm all about transparency. It's not some get rich quick thing. It's none of that. You can make $10, $20, maybe even more depending on how much you play and what you actually play. But there are people who have made hundreds of dollars playing these games. And again, if you already play games on your phone, then it's nothing to just play games and eventually get paid for it. No matter what the price is, you might as well get paid for it. And it's completely free. You ain't gotta spend no money, none of that. All you gotta do is scan this QR code right here, or you can click that first link in the description and check it out and see if you can make some free cash. I appreciate y'all. Let's get back to the video. Yeah, I gotta address the stupid asses real quick. You about to watch a reaction to a debate. So I'm gonna be pausing, I'm gonna give my take, and I'm gonna stop and give my opinion on what I'm hearing. If you wanna go watch the regular debate, then go watch the fucking regular debate. But you about to watch a reaction to a debate. And if you also don't know, the way YouTube algorithm works, because it scans every single video, you can't sit there and let a video play for too long or you can get copyright striked. While you're on live stream, they can take your video down. It's happened before. So when I pause, that means you clicked on the reaction video for me to pause. So if you don't want to watch somebody pause and react, then don't click on the reaction video, you stupid ass. For the people that's in the live, I appreciate y'all for being here. I'm not talking to y'all. I love y'all. I'm talking about these dumb ass niggas who be in the comments. Why you keep pausing? Because you clicked on the reaction video, you stupid ass. But outside of that though, let's get right into it. You already know how I give it up. Let's go do it. Let's lock in.
Got two great guests for this particular discussion, and I'm going to start off by reintroducing the audience to Anton Daniels, who came on the show a little over a month ago and was absolutely fantastic. He didn't wait for a seat at the table in Detroit. He built his own college dropout who spent his 20 years grinding 16-hour shifts in the steel plant, taught himself software engineering, and used that corporate money to build a real estate and media empire. Today, he's a titan in the digital space. There's no way around it. Over 2 million subscribers and 1 billion views. He's built a brand on a simple, often polarizing premise: personal responsibility over everything. He tells the hard truths that many are afraid to say, and he's faced the fire for it, and he has.
This ain't got nothing to do with my personal opinion about Anton, but he always got this like feminine, sassy type of look to his face every single time I see him. I disagree with a lot of his takes and stuff, but for whatever reason, I don't know, the way his lips is puckered. I don't know. It's just not he doesn't have a masculine type of like presentation. You know what I mean? It's always like he got his lips puckered, like he doing like a kissy face emoji. I don't know what it is, but something about Anton Daniels, I don't know why he does that every single time. I don't think he gay, but I don't understand why he always doing that. Let's keep going though.
Hasn't given a damn. Whether you call him a visionary or a provocateur, you can't ignore him. It's just that simple. That's Anton Daniels that I'm talking about. Welcome back to the show, my brother.
Happy to be back, Stephen.
Is that shirt pink or is it white? I don't know. I ain't even trying to go there though. I'm just saying, I'm just you know.
Happy to have you. And Tharon Johnson, I couldn't wait to have him on the show as well. He spent much of his career inside the rooms where political decisions get made. Longtime Democratic strategist based in Atlanta. He's helped elect mayors, advised governors, worked on presidential campaigns. And he's become one of the most recognizable political voices in Georgia. From Barack Obama's historic 2008 campaign to advising Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed, Tharon built his reputation as a sharp political operator with deep ties to the Democratic Party. Today, millions know him as a television commentator who regularly defends Democratic policies while offering insider analysis on everything from elections and race relations to the future of American politics. Whether you agree with him or not, Tharon brings the perspective of someone who spent decades shaping campaigns, building coalitions, and helping Democrats win. For the very first time, Welcome to the show, the one and only Tharon Johnson. What's going on, man? How you doing? Welcome to.
I'll never understand why Stephen A. Smith just don't go bald. Just go bald, man. You see two baldies right there. Just go bald. Just go bald. Let it go, Stephen A. He need to just let it go.
The show.
I'm doing great, Stephen A. Thank you so much for inviting me, man, and congratulations to your Knicks. Let's just get this
That's
off
right.
right away, man. Yeah, your Knicks did it. I saw your interviews. I saw you celebrating.
That's right.
So congratulations, my brother.
Well, listen, I just want to say for the listeners out there, the viewers out there, we won't be talking about the Knicks because I pride myself in trying to be kind to my listener, to my guests, and we all know what we did to the Hawks, and we know what we would have done to the Detroit Pistons, Anton's Detroit Pistons, but we didn't get a chance to do it. But I'm not going to rub it in. I'm going to be classy here. I'm not going to rub it in, guys. Let me get right to it because obviously, Tharon, you're a liberal. Anton's unapologetically conservative. Both of y'all have stated. The state of Black America right now in the United States, what would you say it is right now? I'll start with you, Tharon.
I think the state of Black America right now, Stephen A., is one that's fluid, in your words, but it's something that we need to all be focused on because as we sit here right now in the United States of America, we know that Black unemployment is high, and we care about a lot of the issues that white, Hispanic, and Asian people care about. And here they are in this order. Number one, we want to be able to be safe. We have allowed the Republicans and others to say that we don't believe in law and order. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Number two is that we want our children to have an opportunity, particularly our Black children, to have an opportunity to go to schools, whether it's private schools or public schools. But then when you get into healthcare, and we know the alarming rates of people with diabetes, people who have heart conditions, and even mental illness in Black people right now. Just studies have shown that young Black people right now are committing suicides at a higher rate than we've ever seen before. So I think the state of Black America right now is struggling. I think that some of us are prosperous, but some of us are actually not bringing enough people along with us. And then lastly, I think that we have to make sure that for those of us that have been blessed to have an opportunity to have a good paying job, to have a family structure, there's a lot of folks out here, particularly kids, depending on what zip code you're born in, will determine your actual pathway to success. A lot of folks in Atlanta and places around the country are being born below the poverty line. And if you don't have that family structure in place, access to quality paying jobs, and also healthcare, we as Black Americans, we got to do better.
Darren, before I get to Anton, who do you hold most culpable for the state of affairs involving Black America at this point in time?
I think it's a combination of a lot of different things, but it's a confluence of the lack of leadership on the federal level, starting with President Trump. And then I think the second.
Okay, that's where I'm gonna stop right there. To say that the issue with Black America starts with Donald Trump is some of the most just. He sounds like a politician with everything that he just said. He sounds like a politician. So he said that he be in these political rooms. Y'all, I'm not a Trump supporter. I don't give a fuck about Trump. But to say that the issues with Black America starts with Donald Trump and the lack of leadership, no. The issues with Black America and everything about Black America is not negative and bad issues. But if you want to talk about specifically the negative issues about Black America, when you say leadership, the leadership to be the men in these motherfucking households, not Donald fucking Trump. Donald Trump don't move the needle when it come to me. I don't have any children. Me being a man, taking care of my woman and taking care of my kids. So the true leadership need to be the men stepping up and stop letting the women run the show. Stop letting the women in the Black community be a motherfucking matriarchy. And the men stepping up and saying, I'm going to be the one that's going to take lead of my family. Not for the whole community. Everybody don't have to be a community leader. But what you can do is you can step up and you can say, I'm going to take care of my woman and I'm going to take care of my family and my children. And let's just say that, the situation don't work out between you and your woman. You at least need to be there for your children. So for a man to be this compromised, to say that the issue with Black America starts with Donald Trump, is almost as if like Donald Trump is 300, 400 years old. Donald Trump became the president in what 2016? Or whatever it was? I don't even care. I feel like he's been president for 50 damn years, but Donald Trump is not the issue with Black America. The issue with Black America is a systematic issue that's been going on for a long time. And we, people like myself, are I am basically the construct of, or not the construct, but I'm basically I'm me, myself, and other people we have dealt with to an extent. Not everybody got the same level of it, but the generational curses of systematic things that have happened in a community, specifically with the Democratic Party. But again, he's a Democrat, so he's not going to ever call out the Democratic Party. And no, I'm not a Republican, but I call out the Democratic Party because the majority of Black Americans are always going to be on the support side of the Democratic Party. You know what I'm saying? But the issue with Black America don't start with Donald Trump. He's not even in the top 25 things that got to do with Black America. It's so many other issues that didn't happen well before Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just a byproduct of white supremacy. That's all he is. So you can miss me with that. Let's keep going.
Part of it is that we've got to be more emboldened to hold the elected officials accountable. You can't.
Coming from a Democrat, you should be the one that be saying that more than everything. The Democrats y'all don't hold none of these officials accountable. As long as they Black or they some foreign person, y'all be in support of them. Y'all don't give a damn what their policies is. As long as they not white, or if they are white, if they even if they supporting stuff that got to do with, deconstruction of the Black family, which is supporting LGBTQ, supporting us relying on benefits that don't do nothing but keep us in the same position that we in, and not the things that's going to refix the Black family structure, then y'all in support of it. So you can miss me with that whole, holding politicians accountable. Y'all don't hold politicians accountable at all. Shout out to Audrey with the $20 donation. She says, too happy to finally catch a YouTube live. Thank you, Audrey, for joining the YouTube live. I appreciate it. Shout out to my TikTok people who came over from the TikTok stream. But thank you for the $20 donation on PayPal. I appreciate that, Audrey. Much love to you, Audrey.
Be more emboldened to hold the elected officials accountable. You can't just come in our communities and tell us things that we want to hear. We got to make sure
Karen Bass do
that when we elect you,
Mom Dami in New York City do. Every other Black person that come as a Democrat, or if they come as a Republican, but usually as a Democrat, whatever they say, or they Democrat, they Black, we gonna vote for them. Y'all don't give a damn about holding these people up to any type of accountability. Y'all don't give a damn about that. So this is another just Democrat lying.
particularly Black women, who is the backbone of the Democratic Party.
Which is a problem. It's not even the fact that they're a backbone of the Democratic Party. They're a backbone of the Black community in general, because men like him are defeated. They're lost. They're delusional. They're weak. They're effeminate. They are so lost into thinking that a man and a woman is equal. They are compromised. So men like him are the issues, because they speak like this.
We got to make sure that we hold them accountable.
So maybe the women wouldn't have to step up if we didn't have so many weak ass men like this who's scared to say what I'm saying. I'm seen as the bad guy.
Not just Democrats. We got to get into those rooms with Republicans too, and don't let them off the hook. So I think it's a confluence of a lack of leadership on a federal and state level, but also making sure we hold our Black leaders more accountable to make sure that they deliver on what they promised us.
Anton, when I would ask you the same question, what do you?
Shout out to DN with the $5 donation. Here from TikTok, now we're getting the real Ant. I'm the real Ant everywhere I go, sweetie. Thank you for the $5 donation. No, much love to you. I appreciate that $5 donation.
Believe the state of Black America to be at this particular moment in time? Who do you hold most culpable for it?
I'm not sure exactly what he means by fluid. And I'm assuming that he defined that based off of the different parameters by which he spoke about the Black community. However, I think I agree with him, except for I would describe it as in shambles. Worse off than we've ever been, freer than we've ever been. And the fact that we're willing to blame Trump, although we've had decades of opportunities, Black cities, you look at some of the blackest cities in the United States of America, Memphis, for example, is in shambles and they needed Trump's help. And I think that there's a lack of accountability and victimhood. And as long as we continue to promote that it's somebody else's fault, you know, I was looking at Juneteenth in Chicago, right? And
well, I'm going to speak to that point real quick about opportunities. I noticed he mentioned opportunities. Black cities, Black people have always tried to create opportunities for ourselves. But see, the issue with the conservatives and the Republicans is they like to speak about this. I'm not under any type of oppression. Nothing ever happened. But it's like they act like people started being Black last week. Like people have been living in America and being Black for 400 plus years. So when you start speaking about the history of these so-called opportunity in cities where Black people were supposed to just come up, well, use that logic with Tulsa, Oklahoma. Use that logic with all the other Black cities and Black communities where Black people tried to prosper and they tried to come up, and it was deindustrialized, or it was destroyed, or it was the resources were taken away from that community. So when you don't understand your history, you start to speak about Black people as if we have been on the same level playing field as all the other people in this country, whether they be immigrants or they just be, the Anglo whites who've been here since day one. And they talk as if like it's been an equal playing field. It haven't. You know, there was a time where black people weren't allowed to own patents. They weren't even allowed to own patents. They like to use this point of black people didn't create anything, because look at this years where there were no people that were creating anything. Black people were not allowed to own patents. You weren't allowed to say that this was owned by you. There was a time where black people weren't allowed to own homes. I talk about it all the time. I talk about redlining all the time, and the Jim Crow laws that systematically took away from the foundation of build generational wealth with black people. So the problem with the conservatives and the Republicans is that's how they like to talk. It's either you got to be fully on one side or fully on the other side. And that's where you lose me at, because you can't be fully on either side. There's truth and there's delusion on both sides. And the problem with somebody that classifies themselves as a Republican or a Democrat is you know different from the other side. You're just on the other side. You know what I'm saying? So Anton is not talking about the history that these black cities, as far as the opportunity they try to create for themselves, they were not able to, because certain laws and policies that have systematically deprived black people from building generational wealth. And it's not just Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cities that just didn't become as popular as what Tulsa was popularized as, because it was known as Black Wall Street. But there's so many other cities that's just like Tulsa, Oklahoma, that they just don't be talked about. It's just not as popular. Some of the people in the chat, some of y'all got parents or grandparents, or some of y'all are a direct reflection of that time. Let's keep going.
You know, I was looking at Juneteenth in Chicago, right? And you had over 7 people killed and 36 people shot. And while we were focusing on whether or not Asians and white people, whether it's Carmelo Anthony or Cyrus Carmack, is responsible and if they should go to jail or not, in every city across America, especially where predominantly black people live, you don't have to kill each other, but there's drive-bys, and there were over 113 shell casings where 12 people were shot on Juneteenth itself. And so when I look at the state of the black community, it has nothing to do with the political landscape. It has everything to do with self-accountability, regardless of whether or not you're picking the right curriculum, if you want to go to college or you want to go to community.
Again, that's where you lose me at. So one thing I can say is he's correct. You don't have to do anything. And y'all already know me. I've spoken about it before. If I was a dictator, I'd be tough on crime, tough as hell on crime. But I do understand that there's a historical context to it. People, first of all, when you say black on black crime, black people are unalive black people unalive each other due to proximity. Black people live in majority black neighborhoods. Not to mention, black people that live in these majority black neighborhoods a lot of times are living in poverty. They tend to be poor. So people tend to commit crime based out of survival. That does not take away from the fact that you did the crime, because it's going to be some stupid when I post this video that's going to say, so are you trying to say that it shouldn't matter? No, you dumb fuck. I didn't say that it shouldn't matter, or we should not call those people out, or they should not be held accountable. I'm one of the main proponents in my own generation that call on my own generation for this YN culture that is talked about, that is pushed, and that becomes the norm for what people think is cool. I always talk about that. Go look at my videos and do your motherfucking research. I speak about shit all the time. But even though I can call out this behavior, even though I can say that this young, dumb YN hood gang street culture is stupid as fuck, I still understand where it came from. People that live in poverty tend to commit crime because they're committing crime out of survival. If anything, the one thing I can agree with what the Democrat dude said was he spoke about your area code. And it's to an extent it's true. Based on, you usually are going to live the life that your parents lived. And your parents usually are going to live the life that their parents lived and their parents lived. That's what generational trauma and the generational curse is. So Anton Daniels is making his point, exuding all of these other factors. Now, he is correct. We do need to call that shit out, and those people need to be held accountable. There's a subset of black culture that acts like that shit is cool and it's good, but it's usually the younger generation. Now, that younger generation, who created that younger generation? The older generation who dropped the ball on a lot of their children. But again, when we speak about the fatherless black households, we would have to talk about the systematic thing that set it up. I talk about it all the time. Deindustrialization that started in the late 60s, early 70s, that took the black man out of the household or made the black woman rely on the government. The black man that went to the war, the factory jobs being, taken out of city. Anton Daniels, you're from Detroit. It was called Motor City for a reason. It was one of the most booming cities in the Midwest, but it's not, they still call it Motor City, but it ain't really Motor City no more, because during that time, your own city, Anton Daniels, was deindustrialized, meaning that I say all the time, like if you graduate from high school, and it was one of the main cities I should say that was in deindustrialized. Back in the 50s, 60s, early 70s, you was able to graduate from high school and be able to get a certificate in whatever you needed to get a certificate in, usually stuff that have to work with your hands, blue collar work, and you was able to completely come out of high school, 18-year-old, and go work and be able to make enough money to provide for yourself, your woman, and your children. But that's not the norm that we live in no more. That society is now gone. You know what I'm saying? So that plays a big factor into the stuff that my generation deals with now. But you have to call out and add both sides to it. The problem is people like him and the other Democrat dude, they don't like to do that because they have to stick to, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. No, you niggas are fucking eaters. That's what you niggas are. But let's keep going though.
Community college. Healthcare, I don't think that we're concerned about it. Self-care, I don't think that we're concerned about it. And more importantly, I think that we're more concerned about self-care with regard to promoting ourselves and the culture that's the worst for us versus taking accountability for the state that we have ourselves in. We don't have to have children out of wedlock. We don't have to put ourselves at a disadvantage, and we don't have to have children in poverty. And we have more technological advantages as far as research and understanding of the past than we've ever had before. But for some reason, we're still worse off when we continue to vote the same way while requesting nothing from politicians and letting women lead us to the polls. And that is the direct result. You're seeing it transpire inside of the Black community.
In short,
one of the things that I got to ask you about, Anton, is that, you know, so many times we see things from an historical perspective. We see the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We see the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We see policy that has been implemented to address the unfairness and the inequity that exists within our system. I do understand when people look at it in this day and age and say, look, we're a lot better off than we were before. Let's stop acting like that. But there are, I think one of the things that concerns me about folks with the conservative tilt is that there's this notion, sometimes people act like it never existed. There was never a problem. These things never needed to be addressed. It's basically just about pulling yourself by your own bootstraps and going from there without really addressing the fact that the inequity that exists in our system, it's always been something that the Black community has had to battle against. And sometimes you hear conservatives talk and some of them sound like, yo, that's not true at all. What do you say to that?
I don't see any inequities. I was born in the blackest large city in the United States of America. Everybody knows that. Detroit, Michigan, still here, born and raised, contribute to my community. And
okay, I don't see is not a logical response to that. Because something doesn't exist around you, that's a low IQ talking point. That's like saying, well, I don't see that people are poor because the way I grew up in wealth. That doesn't make any sense. That's a 5-mile radius mindset. Well, since I don't see it in my immediate everyday life because I didn't grow up like that, or because I didn't see it, or because people that I know don't talk about it, or they don't live it, then that means said thing just must not exist. That's a stupid low IQ talking point.
And there's just some very basic fundamentals that we lack that has nothing to do with the history of this country, right? We're in 2026, and there's people that come over here with absolutely nothing. There's Africans, right? Illegal and legal immigrants that have come into this country and done exceptionally well, right? And so when I start to have this
I'm glad you brought that up, Anton Daniels, because I love when people use this low IQ talking point. So let's break this whole, not even just Africans. It ain't even got nothing to do with just Africans. It's funny because he specifically said Africans. He didn't say immigrants in general. He's just solely called out Africans. To you know they try to ruffle some stuff up. But let's get down to the facts. And I broke this down before, but we're gonna break it down again for the people who don't know. This whole notion that these immigrants come over to America and do better than us, that's an illogical. It's an illogical point, and it's a low IQ point. Let's break this shit down fully all the way. When you are coming from another country, whether you come from Africa, whether you come from the Caribbean, whether you come from the Middle East, whether you come from wherever, most of the time, these countries, these people come from third world countries. India, they come from most of the time third world countries. So what happens is when they come from these countries, they are usually in the top 10% of their countries. I'm gonna say it again so y'all can understand what I'm saying. These people are usually in the top 10% of their countries. So when they come over to America, they're not the average African walking around in a tribe eating the bottom of a monkey's back. That's not the average African that comes over to America. The average person or African or whatever country they come from that comes over to America is a part of the top percentile of his country, his countrymen, or his ethnic group. So they're already coming over here with some type of education, some type of finances. They don't, this whole lot of they come over here with a pocket of land. Well, how did you get a flight to come over here then? You know how expensive it is to get a flight from Ethiopia or Somali over here to America? If you don't believe me, go take your phone, go to Google, type in how much does a flight cost from Nigeria to New York City or to Maryland or to Florida. It costs a lot of money. The flight is not free. So they're already in the top percentile, not to mention when the American goes through their selection process of bringing people over here legally, guess what? They have a selection process. Everybody is not allowed to come over here. The people who do come over here are what America will feel is going to be better for the economy. So when they bring somebody over here to America, they're bringing somebody over here who is probably well educated already in his respective right in his own homeland, or has some type of financial capital, or has some type of job or some type of skill, whether they be an engineer, whether they be a doctor, whatever it is, they come over here already a part of the top 10% of the country. So if you don't understand the logic, I'll put it in an easier form for you. That's like taking the top. That's like taking an above average Black American, because most Black Americans can't afford to go travel overseas. So we would have to be talking about an above average Black American who can afford to go travel overseas. That's like taking an above average Black American, putting him in Nigeria, and then saying, hey, you over here doing better than these Nigerians. That's not a logical point, because you would have to compare them to their contemporary. So to use the logic, the better argument would be, well, you would have to compare the average Black American to the average Nigerian, since he used Africa, in their own respective homelands. And if you compare those like and like, Black Americans are doing way better than these people in their own respective homelands, because we have more wealth and capital over here. So, and again, even when they use the argument, they only use an argument from the perspective of the people that are over here. It's not that many immigrants over here in America from Africa. It's not that many. It's enough. It's a lot, but it's not that many comparative to Black Americans. So what you're doing is you making your argument to say the top 10% of Africans who come over here to America, to the entire ethnic group of Black Americans in America. That includes the poor, the middle class, and the upper class. Well, the upper class is never going to be the majority. The middle class, even in the Black community, is not even the majority. Or I guess some people could say it's the majority, depending on where you live, depending on the income or whatever it is. But most people are going to either be poor or middle class. That's the majority of people. Most people are not a part of the upper class. So when you take the upper class of a community that's not from here, bring them over here, so they already have access to certain resources. Even when it comes to going to school, these people get housing vouchers. They get access to using government handouts. They have housing vouchers. They on food stamps. They on welfare, while not even legally supposed to even be on it. Some of them know how to finesse their way through. They got fake scam degrees and all this type of shit. Fake scam paperwork. How do they know that they got real paperwork over there to know what they doing? America don't know, unless it's somebody over there. But even still, they don't know. It's a third world country. They don't document all that. You know what I'm saying? So they just gonna go off of the fake paperwork that they give. So you're not making a logical claim when you're trying to argue the fact that these people so-called come over here and do better than us. No, they don't. They get international scholarships. I ain't get no international scholarship when I was in college. They didn't get me shit. They got foreign exchange students. Some of these universities get paid more money when they have international students that go to their school. So they get an incentive when they get over here. They get a boost. They have scholarships and grants and shit specifically for people that's of immigrant descent. That's not American. You don't get none of that shit. They don't got none of that shit for us. So this whole notion that they just come over here and they're in the evil play, for no, they're not. They're already a part of the respective 10% of the countries they come from. So you can miss me with that dumb shit, Anton Daniels. You lying. So I don't do that. I don't do that. Compare us equal. We doing way better than these people. And this ain't to disparage them. This ain't to talk down on them. It's to just add context to what he's saying. He's making a big framed point, but not adding a context that makes that point make sense. If you speak in a headline, yeah, it's gonna look like, oh, that's crazy. This headline is wild. But why did that headline exist? Let's talk about the nuance that they don't want to talk about online. Come on, man. Let's keep going.
Conversation. There's really two different types of Black people, right? And I'm not gonna use the word to describe the other type of Black people, but there's people that continue
You trying to say
to hold on to the victim Olympics. And I've never experienced slavery in my 44 years on this earth. And so
none of us have experienced slavery, Anton Daniels. It's the the things, the generational traumas and curses that come from slavery. The reason why Anton Daniels, black people live in the cities that they live is because of redlining. It started in the late 1920s, early 1930s. That's literally systematic racism. That's literally a generational gap, a generational curse that is still prevalent today. Most black people who live in inner cities live in cities that are right outside of downtown. White flight happened, and the white people that were in these areas, most of the hoods were used to be white areas, they moved away because the black people were living there and they made the black people stay there. I don't understand how you from Detroit and you don't know that.
Expectation for my father was I had a greater calling for my life, and that's what I leaned into. I leaned into my religious beliefs. I leaned into my community. I leaned into my schoolwork. I leaned into taking accountability. I leaned into working hard, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And as long as you are doing what you're supposed to do, there are no limits. And so I don't see the inequity, right? That is a word that is used in order to make an excuse for why you're not doing what you're supposed to do. We don't have any excuse for why we go into prison. We don't have any excuse for why we continue to commit crimes. And we don't have any excuse for why we continue to not enroll in the curriculums that's going to pay us the most money. Every time you go into a college,
It's not an excuse. It's bringing up the point as to why. It's not an excuse to say it should not be taken care of or shouldn't be held accountable. Nobody is, at least I'm not saying that. I'm not saying people should not be held accountable for their bad decisions. I'm just saying that you have to add context as to why people are put in that position. But I'm still, no, hey, off with his head. I'm not a person that's going to take away from the fact that they still did what they did.
we continue to not enroll in the curriculums that's going to pay us the most money. Every time you go into a college campus, everybody is in business, marketing, and communications. Nobody is going in any STEM fields. And every time I see a woman go into anything school related, it's always to be a nurse. I don't understand. I really genuinely don't understand. We're the most educated, we're the most enrolled, not even the most educated. We're the most enrolled, but we're the most in debt. And so we have insight and information.
He's true there with a lot of these HBCUs. A lot of people think they're educated because they're enrolled in school. This lie that they like to put out there. Black women are the most educated. Black women are not the most educated. Black women are the fat, and we're not the most enrolled either. That's a lie. Anton Daniels don't know how to look at statistics. Black women or black people are not the most enrolled. Black women, I think for a couple years, it still could be till now, are the fastest enrolled, meaning at the rate that people were enrolling into school, black women shot up. So their rate of being enrolled into school are the fastest. And with that being the case, they have a higher form of debt than black men. So, but a lot of times he is correct when it comes to the degrees that a lot of women or people in general go for, but women go for. Women usually go work with things that have to do with people and children. That's why you'll see a lot more women going to nursing, or they're going to things like, going to be a therapist, or they're trying to get into child development. I mean, you got people that go to HBCUs and they get into African American studies. Why would you ever fucking do that? You're not about to make no money unless you want to be a so-called African scholar. Like, why are you going into that? Do you want to be a historic scholar? No. Then why are you going to school to be African Americans? Like, what, you ain't finna get real history anyway. HBCUs ain't. It's still funded by the government, so you still gonna have to still gonna get the same education you would have got at a PWI, because they still control the educational system that's there. But so yeah, I mean, he's correct on that. A lot of the when it comes to black people and going to college, a lot of these, and it's somebody that's been to 3 different universities. Man, people are lost. So I'll give them that for sure.
We're the most enrolled, but we're the most in debt. And so we have insight and information on how we can make better decisions, but we lack the discipline and we lack the wherewithal to actually make those decisions and be conscious enough to see it through. And so I don't believe in that. And I believe the fact that people continue to try to make it seem like we're behind the 8 ball is enabling us to continue to go further down this drain. And the minute that we start holding ourselves accountable, holding ourselves, we don't need Trump. You don't need Barack Obama. I've seen them making their speech about hope again. And I respect you, Tharon, for the work that you did with the Obama campaign in the South. But we don't need anybody to sell us anything or to give us anything. We can take everything that we want if we really want it.
Tharon, I mean, listen, you served as a regional political director for Barack Obama's 2008 presidential campaign. Obviously, you were a senior advisor to former Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed and helped shape policy and political strategy during Reed's administration. You hear Anton say what he just said, break down what he just break down. Give your initial reaction to all of that. How do you feel about what he just said?
I think what you just heard from Anton is a sort of a certain demographic, a certain population of black people in this country. I mean, what you heard there, Stephen A., is much like my story. He's born in Detroit. I was born in Atlanta. I grew up in Athens. I had a mother who never finished high school. Didn't meet my father until later on in life after I graduated from college. But I had a structure around me where my mom understood the importance of education. Then I had to understand after graduating from Clark Atlanta University, play football, hey, not going to the NFL, what am I going to do with my life? And so I think the one thing that I would tell Anton that I know that he was a direct recipient of is that there were some Black people, maybe some white people, Asian, Hispanic folks that took a time to really invest in him, right? And so I think that, we have a lot of folks who are born in poverty. And you look around the country, is that, and I said this earlier in my opening statement,
True.
kids who are born in certain zip codes, the structure is not there with the family structure, because what the family does, Stephen A., they can teach you how to behave in school. Then it's left up to our teachers, whether it's public schools or private schools, to basically be able to teach you how to learn. And remember what I said, not everyone has the luxury of going to private schools. That's why I believe that we need to do more to invest in our public schools. Now, once you get out, here we go. And this is where I think I benefit with Anton, is that you then have to figure out, okay, how am I going to utilize the system in its current form? You mentioned Barack Obama. You mentioned Kasim Reed. We got Andre Dickens, Keisha Lance Bottoms, all these people, the late, great Congressman John Lewis, Stephen A. These are all people who I work for and I'm very close to. The difference is that with having someone that was Black in these positions of power, it gave them a level of understanding when they were in the room and decisions were being made about jobs, education, healthcare, entrepreneurship, where we were going to allocate resources to certain communities. You had that person in the room. What's also lacking, he makes a good point.
Okay, that's like still getting stuck on this. As long as they Black, that's enough. That is exactly like ironic from the person who initially started speaking, and he said we need to start holding these politicians accountable. Y'all don't hold the Democratic politicians accountable because all y'all care about is them being Black or so-called a person of color, which is some other nuanced BS to lessen the importance of Black American specific history and things being specific for our own ethnic group. So you can miss me with that whole skin focus, skin color. I don't give a damn if they're African. I don't give a damn if they're Caribbean. I don't give a damn if they're Black American. Your skin color don't mean nothing to me at this point. I'm over this whole skin color thing when it comes to politicians and shit. That doesn't mean anything to me. Some of the most blackest, so-called blackest folks done the most BS to us. And every time they do put somebody that's Black in there, what do? They prioritize the LGBTQ. They prioritize feminism. They prioritize everything that got to do with deconstructing the Black nuclear family unit, which is, me personally, in my opinion, I think is the biggest thing that destroys our community. I just dropped a video about it. Y'all should go watch it. I dropped it yesterday. Is the fact that there's no structure in these households. Because, again, these politicians, like I said, it's the LGBTQ, is feminism, is, well, what about the Latinos? What about the Asians? What about the people of color? What about this rainbow coalition BS that don't actually help the people who it should be helping? Because all these other people that come over here are from other countries. This is not their homeland. So why the fuck, if it's somebody coming from another country, do they get the same level of access of the so-called not having this distribution of resources that we would when we are the only people who have historically gone through systematic trauma in this country? Miss me with that dumb, well, all these Black people, they Black. Man, get the fuck out of here, nigga. That shit ain't got nothing to do with us. I don't give a fuck about them being Black. What do they do when they in that motherfucker? Obama ain't did shit in 8 motherfucking years. He ain't did a damn thing but make gay marriage legal. And he ain't really Black. His mama white and he from Kenya. That ain't Black. Not to me. Maybe to some of y'all, not to me. They ain't Black to me. That shit don't mean nothing to me. And even when they do have somebody that's so-called Black in there, even if it is a foundational Black American, they're not thinking about the grassroots. They're not thinking about us. They thinking about how they can help everybody else. And they always got a white man or a white woman. Think about that. The so-called everything is about racism and white supremacy. They stay with a white man or a white woman. What's her name? Ketanji Brown? Ketanji Jack, whatever her name is. She got a white man. I think she do. Kamala Harris, white man. All these politicians, the women or the men, they always got a white man or a white woman. Now, me, I don't give a fuck who you date. You can date who you want to date. I don't care. I'd have been with all of them. Black, Asian, Latino, I'd have been with them all. Now, I love women. I prefer my Black American women, but I like women. I don't give a fuck who you with. But don't sit up and talk about this pro-Black shit and all this racism shit, but you laying down with this white person. But you want to so-called speak for the Black community about racism, but you laying with the same people who you so-called hate so much. Man, get your goof ass on, man. Watch out for that goof ass shit. Let's keep going, though.
Is that some of our cities that are being led by these Democratic mayors, a lot of them of whom are Black, we got to make sure that we support them and don't just criticize them when there's shootings and killings, but let's talk about the good things that they are doing. So I fundamentally disagree that not that black people basically are just complaining about everything. The majority of black people that I'm friends with and the majority of people that I talk to, they want a good paying job. But unfortunately, they can't keep a job because basically folks are not hiring. We have folks in this country right now who are overly educated for jobs, are taking jobs that they're overly qualified for, and people that are qualified for the jobs actually can't get them. And then lastly,
Wait, what? What? Hold on, what?
they want a good paying job, but unfortunately, they can't keep a job because basically folks are not hiring.
There's plenty of people hiring. There's plenty of people that are hiring. The majority of people have jobs. The majority of people are not jobless. So even if what you're saying is true, it's not the majority of black people. So that's the delusional talking point. The majority of black people have a job, and the majority of black people are working everyday jobs. So maybe they may not be making enough money like they want. The majority of black people in America have a job.
We have folks in this country right now who are overly educated for jobs, are taking jobs that they're
Overly educated, I don't know about that one.
qualified for, and people that are
So maybe they shouldn't take the job.
qualified for the jobs actually can't get them. And then lastly, I would say this: we have to do a better job as a community. Stephen A., you're doing this, right? Putting people in positions to make sure that when they've done the work, when they've actually made the sacrifices, right? They've been given an opportunity, somebody's helped them, give them a platform to talk about their story and about what they're doing to try to help people. And so again, I fundamentally disagree with Anton as far as, having babies and going to jail. We know that basically the crime rate and is the same with a black person with a job and the same person with a white person with the same job, right? If you give people a job, crime goes down, people are more productive citizens. But if we don't get them access to jobs, if we don't have politicians in place to make sure that the blatant racism that we do see in this country, where people are basically know when I go in a lot of rooms, folks don't look like me, but I'm scared of that room. And even though sometimes I'm more educated and more experienced, we got to make sure that we hold those folks accountable. So I think that's the difference between that. And that
He just proved my point. They don't hold people of color accountable for the BS that they do. As long as you black, you can get in and do whatever the hell you want to do.
as I've been very blessed to be in positions, I'm always, Stephen A. and Anton, trying to figure out how do I help the young black brothers and the young black sisters who are trying to actually make a way and make sure that they thrive
He
in their
crazy
communities.
as hell.
Can I respond to that really quickly?
I was getting ready to say, I saw you shaking your head. Feel free to comment. Go ahead.
For every Andre Dickens, you have a Lori Lightfoot and Brandon Johnson over in Chicago.
Which both of them ain't did shit for Chicago. And it's somebody that lived in Chicago for multiple years. I was there when the Lori Lightfoot lesbian coochie bumping was there. That bitch ain't did shit, but looked like she got electrocuted all day long. And if you don't know who Lori Lightfoot is, go to Google, type in Lori Lightfoot, and tell me that bitch don't look like she got motherfucking electrocuted. That bitch look like Albert Einstein. So she ain't doing nothing. And Brandon Johnson, he don't do nothing but support the immigrants that's there. That's all he give a damn about is immigrants. That's all he care about is immigrants. So it ain't a damn thing that so yeah, Anton Daniels was right. Them don't give a damn about the black people.
You have a Karen Bass, who is
Karen Bass is another one. All she give a fuck about is immigrants. Do y'all know that Karen Bass had a specific thing that she passed in LA for people, for Mexicans who were not even just Mexicans, it was Latinos in general, people of Latin descent. It was only Latin descent. So you know how they know how to make a lineage and ethnic based policies when it's beneficial for them, but when it comes to black Americans, they got to be for everybody. Do y'all know that bitch was putting in policies to get people to get money that were scared because of ICE? If you do not believe me, I promise you, I got a video of it. Go look that shit up. I'm so serious. She had a policy that was passed that was giving families thousands of dollars of taxpayer money for people that simply was scared because they could have possibly got sent back home because of ICE. You don't believe me? Look it up. I did a whole video breakdown of it. That bitch ain't shit either. So miss me with this. So I'm glad Anton is bringing this up. Y'all have black politicians who get in. They don't do nothing when they get in. They care about everybody else. And they always got a white man or a white woman. It's crazy as hell. Karen Bass is married to a Mexican. You see what I mean?
completely incompetent, right? As a person that is born and raised in Detroit, what I've seen is a predominantly black city that was ran by black people, black politicians, whether you're talking about the mayor and the city council, you're talking about the school systems, you're talking about the police chiefs, you're talking about all of this. So when we talking about identity, For whatever reason, people feel like you need somebody to look like you in order for you to do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with anything. As far as me and using myself as an example, nobody poured into me except for my father. My father was responsible for me because I didn't ask to be here. And so when we're talking about taking accountability, what I do see is people continuing to have children out of wedlock. What I do see is people not getting married. I'm not even talking about the political landscape. I'm talking about the basics, the fun.
And that's because the older generation dropped the ball. Not all of y'all, but the older generation dropped the ball when it came to instilling the right moral values in my generation. Because there's no reason why, for whatever reason, we will prioritize a baby shower where a woman says, "Hey, I got a baby on the way. Hey, my man he asked me to be his wife," and I said yes. Ooh, think about that. Think about that. We will question, not seeing we, when I say we, I mean too many people in the black community will question the fact that a young woman has a man that wants to be her husband. We'll question that and be like, "I don't know, you might be too young to be 20 getting married." But when she want to open up her legs and be a fucking hoe, we applaud that and we go into the baby shower and showering this little bitch with gifts. Man, come on, man. And you ain't got to sign a paperwork to be married. I ain't with the sucker shit. But I'm just saying, we prioritize BS way too often in certain parts of the community, for sure, especially in my generation. And I don't really have much excuses for my generation because we got ChatGPT, we got Google, we got books and all this stuff that we can learn. So it ain't no excuses. When you like 14, 15 and you young, okay. But when you in my generation, I'm Generation Z, I'm at the end of Generation Z and I was born in 97. You niggas we have way more access that the older generation did not have. They didn't have ChatGPT and Google and shit. Everything is in this motherfucking phone. We know every album that's finna come out. We can watch every basketball game and play video games and all this shit. I do all this shit too. But I also know a little bit of my history because my mother and father did what they supposed to do in the time that I was with both of them. You feel me? So I know a little bit of something that I was instilled and done in the right way. So my parents did what they're supposed to do. But a lot of y'all, it ain't even your parents' fault. You too damn old because you got all the access and resources to do what you're supposed to do. So ain't no reason why you don't know nothing. So I don't want to hear it. But let's keep going.
Fundamentals. I work with automakers here in Metro Detroit, and so many new jobs was created. Chrysler, well, actually it's Stellantis, but we call it Chrysler here in Detroit, opened up a new plant. Ford went on a hiring spree as a result of the Trump administration. And the main reason why most people couldn't get a job, overwhelmingly black people applied for these jobs, is because they couldn't pass the drug test. They couldn't pass the drug test.
I gotta see a stat on that. That don't sound too truthful. I'm not saying it don't happen, but when you say overwhelming majority, that's above 50%. So especially when a job is working at, I think he said Chrysler, whatever car dealership, that ain't no low paying job. The majority of the white people couldn't pass it. Like, where's the stat? Where's the study that said that that's exactly why? I'm sure it was some people for sure. I know some people right now who be getting fake P and applying for jobs. But the majority, I don't know. I need to see a stat on that. That don't sound too accurate. Because where do they even do studies on that?
It's because they couldn't pass the drug test. They couldn't pass the drug test.
But how prevalent is that, Anton?
Right.
How prevalent is that? I mean,
Right.
you can find those cases, but
where's the source that proves that that was the majority?
Yeah. But to give the impression that that's a vast majority is where the problem occurs.
Well,
you really believe it's the vast majority?
50% of applicants that actually got hired or was on the verge of getting hired couldn't pass the drug test in order to get into the plant.
But Anton, let's go back to Detroit real quick. I know your mayor very well, Mary Sheffield. I actually supported her in Atlanta. Stephen A., she came here when no one knew her. She had some mutual friends, met this sister. And you can't tell me, Anton, having that black woman with that rich history, right? I don't need to tell you her history, her family, how she served on the city council president. You can't tell me having her in that room and not necessarily the color of her skin, but the content of her character and what she took to get there. You guys, as people who are citizens of Detroit, you guys are.
Who give a damn? What's the policies? I don't give a damn about that. Everybody got a story. I don't give a damn about none of that. What's the policy? All this. Well, what about her story? I don't care about none of that. Yeah, her pussy been sweat from the top of 7 Mile all the way to 100 Mile in Detroit. I don't give a damn. What's the big policy? That don't mean nothing to me.
Benefiting from that. I mean, no one gave her anything. She ran against the establishment. She ran against the preachers. And so now she's trying to basically talk about people and getting them in position to get those jobs you're talking about. But I think I agree with Stephen A. Let's not put this on black folk, bro. Hispanics fail drug tests all the time. Asians fail. And a lot of white people.
The question wasn't about that though.
And we're not going to even get into the thing around fentanyl and all the drug problems that a lot of our.
Respectfully, the question is about the Black American community. Unless it's a hypocrisy going on, there's no need to bring up other communities in this sense.
Rural white class, working class people are filing right now. They fail drug tests too. So I think that's my fundamental issue with you.
No.
We can't just
Darren,
isolate that just to the black community.
You're moving a goalpost because specifically the question was for the black community, right? We're not talking about Asians. We're not talking about white people. We're talking about taking self-accountability.
No, I'm going back with Stephen A.
I did ask the question. Darren, I did ask the question about the black community. I didn't bring up any. I didn't bring up any other community. He's right about that. I did ask the question specifically about the black community. So he's got me there. But go ahead. Go ahead, Anton.
I'm not going to lean into somebody else in order to justify why we not or why we are, right? You have a responsibility as an American citizen and as a duty to your parents and the ancestors that came before us, especially with regard to the civil rights movement and all of the people that died and the people that suffered. We don't even show up at the polls and we don't even educate ourselves enough to understand the candidates that we're voting for. I'm not going to talk negatively about Mary Sheffield because she just got into office. Right. And I think that we should give her some grace and some opportunity to really show herself. And so even though I am a Republican, I do believe in supporting whoever is in office, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, but you can go further back. Forget Mary Sheffield. Let's talk about Kwame Kilpatrick. Let's talk about Mayor Coleman Young. Let's talk about all of the black people that came before them that ran the city into the ground that ultimately culminated in the city filing for bankruptcy in 2008. That's not a mistake. It's not a mistake that Detroit had fell behind and filed for bankruptcy. Now, once Mike Duggan got into office afterwards, we had 11 consecutive years of surpluses that Mary Sheffield now can benefit from because she can stand on the shoulders of people that actually worked and did the work. And I'm not going to say that she didn't do the work because she was a part of the city council, but she can now benefit from people voting and saying, listen, I'm not going to vote based off of identity. I'm going to vote based off of the person that's the best for the job. And Mike Duggan, especially as a CEO of a hospital system and understanding it from a business perspective, gave the city an opportunity to really show itself and grow. And now that's what you see as far as Detroit benefiting, especially from working with business leaders like Dan Gilbert, the Illages, and so on and so forth. They are the beneficiaries. But again, we want to ignore the people that did horrible for the city in order to catapult people that are now in office, but we can't forget the history in order to move the goalposts. We can't do that.
I'm gonna go this route. Both of y'all are coming from different perspectives, different sides of the aisle to some degree. But we're sitting here having a conversation, and I get the impression that if y'all were in a room together having to handle some business, y'all could reach some kind of accord, some kind of resolution. That's entirely different. That's entirely different than the perspective that is disseminating out there to the masses. When we look at both sides of the aisle, one of the things that I've been on a warpath about is that I think the politicians have messed up our country because the polarization, I think, has been largely instigated by them. We live in a binary system. You got to pick one side or another. You can't find an accord anywhere. And I think that
I agree with that. Finally, Stephen A. Smith said something that makes sense. Yeah, he right with that. The two-party system need to be completely abolished and just burned to the ground. I agree with him on that.
It's made us as a society more polarizing and more volatile towards one another than it has been in recent memory. I've run across people that are obviously considerably older that tell me this is worse than the civil rights era. This is what they've said to me in terms of how times are right now. I don't know how accurate it is. I'm talking about people in their 70s and 80s in terms of the volatility that exists amongst American citizens. My question to y'all is, if y'all had to, do y'all believe y'all could work together to find resolution? And if so, why can y'all, but so many people in our society are unable to pull that off in this day and age? Sure, go ahead.
Hey, y'all, I got a bet real quick. Somebody bet me $20 that if I can not cuss for the rest of the stream. So we not going to cuss for the rest of the stream. I know I be cussing. We ain't going to cuss for the rest of the live. I'm gonna get this $20. I don't care. We ain't going to cuss for the rest of the live. Somebody just text me and said, I bet you can't not cuss for the rest of the live. But I'll do it for sure. I know how to, I got it tough control. Let's do it. Come on.
I think that Tharon
Starting, hold on. All right, starting now.
is Tharon is somewhat disingenuous, but you can work with that because you understand the disingenuous nature of the conversation is based off of him absolutely believing what he believes, right? He's not doing it to be malicious. He's doing it because he truly believes in what he's saying. And you can work with
Well,
that,
then why
right?
is it disingenuous? Why is it disingenuous if he truly believes it?
It's disingenuous because he knows better as far as, I think that Tharon speaks to, just off of this conversation alone, he's speaking and reaching the lowest hanging fruit. And I know he understands what I'm talking about.
Well, y'all, but Democrats and Republicans do that. I think, honestly, well, I can't even say one is more disingenuous than the other. They both are very, very, very disingenuous, depending on the argument and which, what the argument is. But Democrats and Republicans both do that. They're both doing this in this conversation. Anton Daniels is leaving out history, and Tharon is leaving out the facts of the matter of right now and how these politicians actually operate on the Democratic side. So it's one and the same.
Because he has worked in these political circles. When we're having these conversations, we're not speaking to the actual real issues. He's speaking to the talking points that a lot of Democrats use in order to justify or get people riled up to vote however they're going to vote or to stay in the same space as far as what I would describe as a Democratic plantation. I would be able to work with him because I know that he's smart, he's educated, and he knows what he's talking about. And so behind closed doors, he would be solutions based. And so that's where you would be able to find that bipartisan agreement, or, you would be able to reach that middle road.
Anton like to do this thing. He did it with Corey Holcomb too, when they had their little spat. He like to do this thing where he likes to act like, I know you better than you know yourself. And it's a really good manipulation tactic if you don't know how to see it. See, if you remember what Anton did when he was talking to Corey, when they had that little spat, is he was telling Corey, he was like trying to it's like he's trying to size you up, like basically saying like it's a manipulation tactic. It's like an art of war tactic. I'm gonna explain to you how you operate, and what you're doing right now is not what you really do. So I'm gonna explain to you that I know you more than you know yourself, so you can kind of humble a little bit, and you can not be as, I guess, aggressive, or you can not think that you know more than me. And regardless of whoever knows more than whoever, he does this. I want y'all to go back and watch that. You don't got to watch the whole thing, but if you go back and watch when Anton was talking to Corey Holcomb, when I had that little spat, I did a breakdown, a reaction video of it. Y'all can go look it up. But he does that a lot, and he's doing it again. We're like, okay, well, you do this, but behind closed doors, we both know that you going, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a manipulation tactic. It's what a lot of people do to try to like bring your guard down so they can fully attack. You got to be able to peep the play when people do that stuff. Let's keep going.
Well, that's where you would be able to find that bipartisan agreement, or, you would be able to reach that middle road, because people that are educated understand, even though if they're on the front lines and, facing the audience, I believe that the way that they speak to the audience is much different than how they work with people that they know is educated and know what the solutions are, or trying to find an equitable solution.
Which he might. Anton is correct about that, but you don't know this man, so you don't know if he like that. You just making that assumption. You may know of him, but you don't fully know that person personally, so you can't make that judgment call to say that. But people definitely do that though, for sure.
So I think that I would be able to work with
people for sure do
him, and I also believe that debate and conversation is good. Even if you have different talking points, even if you have different beliefs, you looking to it, a conversation is you looking to understand the person that you're having a conversation with. But I do think that just based off of the talking points that he has today, he's using similar talking points that Democrats use, especially in the Black community, to have people engage in a vote instead of educating them on why they need to do things differently.
Yep.
So, Steve, let me ask you a question. Here we go.
I said it early.
I would be able to work with this brother, Anton, but I think that I would describe him as disillusioned. And I think that he actually is using his conservatism.
Shout out to Tharon for peeping the play. I told y'all, see, I peeped it. I would have did the same thing. So Tharon, I guess that's how you say his name. He doing the same exact thing that Anton is doing. And I want y'all to notice the smirk that Anton did, because his tactic did not work. So Anton did this whole I can see through you thing, and Tharon did the same exact thing. This is a good Like, yeah, we reversed it back on him. Exactly, Empress. This is a good manipulation. This is not a manipulation. This is a good like strategy that Tharon did. He did the same exact thing. And he peeped it. I didn't think he was gonna peep it. Watch Anton's face because he know that his little thing didn't work.
Go
Your
ahead, Darren.
question. There we
Watch.
go. So
Look at his
yes,
face.
I would be able to work with this brother Anton, but I think that I would describe him as disillusioned, and I think that he actually is using
He looked to the right. It didn't work. Well, technically it'd be our left, but his right. It didn't work. It didn't work. That's why he did that. He like, girl, because he act sassy. He looked like, I don't know. I ain't trying to say he gay, but he low key be looking a little. I don't know. He be puckering his lip, and I don't know. I feel like he do this in photos and stuff, but yeah, he tried to do that. Why his lips so perched? I don't know why, but he do that. He always do that. I don't know why dog do that for real. For real. That's crazy.
his conservatism to actually convey a level of elitism when he just said himself that his father and everybody kind of poured into him. The party that he aligns himself with is not the party who actually is helping the people that look like he and I. And so the difference between these are not talking points, Anton. The reason we're both on Stephen A. Smith Straight Shooter Show is because we've been putting in the work. I mean, when you look at the work that I'm doing every single day, right? It's podcasts, but it's also in the streets, making sure that I support my HBCU. It's making sure that when TSA workers are laid off at Atlanta airport and they have no way to get to and from work, I was the guy that was out there passing out the gas cards, right? Serving on boards to try to basically help people with reentry with an organization called CEO. These are the things that I do every single day. I think the difference between you and I, brother, which we will be able to work together, is that you come on a lot of these shows and you take a very sort of controversial topic and you go viral, but you push the button, right? You push the button. But what I would challenge you to do is that when we would get in that room and we would hash it out, I'm sure there's a lot of similarities, but I fundamentally believe that the conservatism that you bought into and the criticism that you bestow on our people is not productive. It's not what's going to help us get to the next level. And so I do believe that you're putting in the work. Clearly, you've made it this far. But Stephen A., what we like to do more, as particularly as Black men, is have sensible conversations like this, represent our point of view in a very calm but direct manner, but also make sure that we don't abandon the core principles of who we are. Listen to what I said to you. You're talking to a guy who clearly didn't grow up with a father, right? A mom who only had a high school education, have an adopted sister, went to a HBCU. No one gave me anything, but I was able to utilize my political skills to get in the rooms. And that's why I chose the South in 2008 and 2012 on the Obama campaign. That's why I support our mayors as well. And I can talk about the city of Detroit because when a Black woman, Mayor Sheffield, comes to my city, Atlanta, and say, hey, I'm running to do something that's going to be better for all of Detroit, not just Black people, I support that woman. And so,
But you
Stephen,
just said that nobody gave you anything.
no. I'm saying to you, I had good mentors along the way, right? But I had a mother, a praying mother, who actually poured into me. I had an older brother, but when I gave the opportunity, there were a lot of people who helped me. John Lewis helped me, gave me an opportunity to run his campaign in 2008.
But no.
Reed
You
helped me.
earned that. You
No,
earned that. Let's be clear.
no.
Nobody
Listen,
gave
no.
you
But see,
anything.
Anton, no. These are the different rooms that I'm in, brother. They're letting you in those rooms because you are the one of the few Black people that talk that conservative talk amongst those Republicans. You know how hard it is to penetrate, and when you are a Black male Democrat, where there's so many of us. Yeah, so I had to prove myself. I had to work hard. Given opportunity, my wins and my merit-based strategy, right? Because at the end of the day, Stephen A., it's all based on merit, right? Can you really deliver on what you're going to do? And I'm a man of merit. So yeah, so no one gave it to me, but like there were some people along the way, Barack Obama, who said, look, we're going to give you the South in 2012. So I can't act like I got here by myself, but I work hard just like you to make sure that when given an opportunity, I was prepared for the moment.
Let me stay with you for a moment before I get back to Antoine, because we're talking about, when you talk about Black folks, you talk about the Black community. Let's talk about the Black voters for a second, who've supported the Democrats by roughly 80 to 90% over the last several decades. We all know that. So if Black America is thriving, the Democrats wouldn't hesitate to take credit. They'd feel they deserved it, no doubt about that. But if Black America is struggling, which we obviously are, should Democrats bear responsibility for that? Which one is it, Tharon?
I think Democrats have got to continue to make sure that we take credit where credit is due. If you just look at when Democrats are in office, where the Black unemployment rates are, it's always higher than when we see Republican presidents. And right now, Biden had a higher Black employment rate than Trump. Okay, then let's get into what Democrats need to do better. We need to make sure that we reward these folks, these Black voters, when they vote for us by putting them in positions of power where they're competent and they're ready for it. Also, we got to make sure that we talk about some of the challenges, but we got to offer solutions. And that's why I'm so proud to be in Georgia and Atlanta, because a lot of our Black leaders, Stephen A., they're not just talking about the inequities, the inequalities. They're actually putting forth solutions. And it takes sometimes working across the aisle. It does take some bipartisanship, because we are a Black Democratic-led city in a ruby sort of red, kind of purple state that's run by Republicans and state leadership. So you got to be able to have that delicate balance, that duality approach into it. So yeah, I think that if you put up what Democrats have done for Black people versus what Republicans have done for Black people, we've done more. Our challenge is making sure that we maintain that voter base and show those women and men every single day that when you put us in office, we're not going to forget about you, but also give us an opportunity to govern. And governing sometimes don't necessarily mean that you can just get things done by just focusing on Black issues. You got to be able to work with white, Asian, Hispanic folks, but at the center of your ability to work every single day, you got to have the advancement of Black people at your core. And I think that's what Democrats have done. And Republicans, honestly, they don't even elect enough of them, don't even nominate enough of them. And literally on the federal and state and the local governments, we don't see the results from the Republican Party that are benefiting Black people the way that we do on the Democratic side.
Anton, your thoughts about that assertion that the Democrats have done far more for the Black community than the GOP, the Republicans, have ever thought about doing?
Again, it's your question initially, Stephen A., which obviously that was a moving a goalpost, another opportunity, was do you then take responsibility when you are not meeting the expectation as a Democratic Party for Black people? And the answer was no, because he basically said we just got to give credit where credit is due. And you're good. You're really, really good there. And I like the way that you answer these questions.
I just answered the question, bro.
But you didn't say that they should take responsibility when things aren't going so well. And I would also preface this by saying that the majority of the jobs, because we can talk about the unemployment rate, but when you're really in the thick of things, and I know that he's in the thick of things like I'm in the thick of things, you understand that a lot of the jobs that are being handed out, especially when we started to see the layoffs at the federal government level, right? And we seen Elon Musk and his crew and all of them went in there and they started to lay it off. We didn't see these same women getting these same jobs and being able to compete in the private sector as they are in the public sector. And what happens is they go into these jobs expecting to get their student loans forgiven, and they work there for 10 years in the public sector with that expectation. And at the same time, they don't meet the expectation to be able to compete in the private sector. And that's why you see a misalignment as far as the competitive balance when it comes to Black people competing for jobs in the private sector versus the public sector. In a private sector, you actually have to be software engineers. You have to be mechanical engineers. You have to be in STEM fields and be able to get these same type of jobs and qualify to go up the economic ladder, and not just in the political landscape or the public sector. And we cannot continue to let Black women lead us, not only at the polls, but when it comes to determining what happens, in these political circles, right? No, they do not take responsibility for what happens to the community. We are worse off than we've ever been in history. And more importantly, the Republican Party is not
than
there
we've
to
ever
give
been?
you
No, we've worse off than we've ever been?
Than we've ever been. In my opinion, I believe that we are, when you compare ourselves to other groups, when it comes to the wealth gap, we are worse off than we've ever been in my lifetime of my 44 years on this earth. And the interesting thing about the Democrat and the Republican Party, and this is why we have to have a mindset shift, is the Republican Party is not there to give you something. It's there to remove the barriers for you to do for yourself.
That's what I was gonna say. But I want him to go into more detail with the
Democrats do that too. We're not out here just giving away stuff as well. I mean, we're actually trying to. But real quick, I want to ask you this question, Anton.
See whole positions created as far as diversity, equity, and inclusion.
What's the Republican answer when your Republican Party? You mentioned Elon Musk. Doge is what it's called.
Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah, you guys fire all these people in public sector. Isn't it true that the Republican response from President Trump and others was go into the corporate world? Now, Stephen A., think about that. If you have spent decades in working hard to pursue public service, particularly in public health certifications, and you get fired for no fault of your own, just because this president did not like the CDC, not because you were doing a bad job, not because you couldn't actually do the job. And then the Republican response to these Black women that Anton are talking about was go into the corporate sector. How is that logical?
Well,
guess what?
Well,
guess what, Darren? Hold on, let me
chime in. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. No, go ahead, go ahead.
That happens every single day in the public sector. You're not guaranteed a job.
No,
People
not
get
being
laid off.
guaranteed.
People get laid off through no fault of their own on a regular basis. When you go through an audit, when a company Meta laying off people in order to be able to fund AI, right? Not that AI is replacing jobs, but because they need to spend more money while being accountable to shareholders. People are being laid off, white people mostly, over at Meta, and you don't have the opportunity to say, well, I didn't get laid off by any means of my own. I have to go and figure it out. You don't get a handout just because you got laid off.
It wasn't a handout.
First of all, I don't consider it a handout. They were working. They were working for that money. They weren't being handed something.
Yeah, I don't think that's a handout. If a company is downsizing, or a company is they go bankrupt or whatever it is, it's not a handout, because like you were working, you did what you needed to do to keep a job, and that company is no longer exists, or they downsize or whatever it is. You should, at least if it was up to me, you should be able to be given some type of pay or some type of something to uphold yourself during that time that you're not working there no more. So that's me.
That's number one. But number two, I will say this. One of the things that I will come back to you about, Tharon, is this. The process of evolution never escapes any generation. I mean, it's not what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's just not. And so when Donald Trump comes into office, and the one thing that I will say is the man didn't lie about what he was intending to do. He talked about shrinking government. Now, the GOP and the Republicans are known for shrinking government. And so I hated the fact that, they laid off a bunch of federal workers. I hated the fact that it had, a very big effect on black women compared to almost anybody, particularly in that D.C. area working for the federal government when they made all of those cuts. I hated that. I didn't like that at all. But in the same breath, I also saw it coming from a mile away. Because he said it was coming. He said it was coming because he said the government's spending too much damn money. Now, obviously, he seems a bit hypocritical with the damn money that somehow gets funneled into his pocket. Don't get me started, by the way, Anton, with a $1.8 billion slush fund that he tried to get, that he was going to oversee and allocate to insurrectionists like nothing was going to get in his pocket. I got you, but we were born at night, not last night. You got to be kidding me with something. Or the fact that the man is in office, and since he's been in office, he's reported to have made anywhere from an additional $5 to $7 billion in his own damn pocket. These are the kind of things that they're saying. Somehow, some way, the American people are suffering, but he's getting richer and richer. Him, his cronies, his families, but not necessarily the American people. I'm looking at it from that standpoint. But again, we all saw it coming, and he said it was coming, Tharon. And so for me, I don't know how to answer that. Like, every administration has a right to invoke and implement their own policies. That's what they do, that they think is in the best interest of the American people. If you see it coming, you got to prepare accordingly. What do you say to that?
So I'll add two more things real quickly, and I'm gonna answer your question. We also saw the same president who told us he was going to build his ballroom and it was going to be funded by private dollars, and he just allocated almost $350 million from Secret Services. And there's also, when we look at where we are of this war in Iran, it's going to probably have $132 billion negative impact on our economy at a time where he's doing all this stuff and we having to pay $4 gas. But let me say this about what the president told us he was going to do. You're absolutely right, Stephen. He campaigned on Project 2025. He did talk about shrinking governments, but guess what? Newsflash: Democrats have also talked about less government and figuring out how we can eliminate waste. Biden did it. Obama did it.
I never heard that. I ain't gonna lie to you. I never heard a Democrat really talk about that. I really haven't.
Well, I'm here to tell you that I work for these folks, and I knew that they would go in and look at certain departments, see how we can actually deal with. And after COVID, everything changed because we didn't have to figure out how to telework, right? We had to figure out how to do more ability to use virtual meetings and different things like that. But here's the difference: Obama, Biden, other folks did it, but it was metrics driven, Stephen A. It actually you had to actually put a cost tag on how much we were going to save, and was the work going to be able to get done if you make these cuts. We know, back to the CDC, that was a personal attack on a major federal agencies based here in Atlanta in DeKalb County, where he fundamentally was mad about the use of vaccines. He put a secretary in there who clearly didn't know what he was doing. That was a direct attack. Now, when you start looking at the cuts to the federal education, right? Our education department. How are you expecting to improve public schools and to have a more educated workforce, that's what Republicans talk about, when you're eliminating the people who are doing the work every single day that are there to help these teachers, help these public schools thrive? And so, yes, he told us he was going to do it. It was too much. And I think we're seeing the consequences now. And that's part of the reason why you're seeing the inflation rate so high. Oh, by the way, Stephen, he told us he was going to deal with inflation on day one. Last time I checked, inflation right now is the highest it's ever been under Trump's administration.
I got that part.
Right now.
Make sure you say under Trump's administration, because under Biden, inflation was above 9%. And in some
and then
places,
he lowered it. And then when Trump got in there, it was lower.
Inflation is only at, well, that's because it's high expectations for Trump. You got to remember that when Trump left office the first time, inflation was less than 2%. All right.
And then when he came back, it was less. Now it's the highest it's ever been.
One at a time, guys.
Under Trump, 3.5%.
Guys, one at a time.
That's not crazy.
Go ahead, then.
No. Under Trump, 3.5%. Now you got to also do the math, because, and this is why I say disingenuous. So there'll be a lot of talking points that's thrown in. Oh, he campaigned under Project 2025. Trump obviously denounced that. He said he wasn't campaigning under Project 2025. There are some things that I will agree with.
Which is true. Trump never campaigned on Project 2025. I remember they was talking about that on TikTok. And I thought it was true, but he vividly came out and said that's not under him. That was something that the Democrats created. And it was a bunch of, I mean, some of the policies wasn't even ethical. It was like some crazy stuff that wasn't anything that he campaigned on ever. So I mean, that's true.
And this is what makes me objective, is because I don't agree with the $1.8 billion slush fund, while at the same time we do need to remove subsidizing private jobs with the public sector. And so an audit should be done. Audits are regularly done in the private sector, and we should be doing it with our tax dollars. But for whatever reason, we think it's okay to just throw money at the wall. That's why you're talking about the Department of Education. The Department of Education is really removing the federal government's hand from it and giving it back to the states, right? That's the true nature of what they're trying to do with the Department of Education. We know that money has been wasted for a long time, that kids have been suffering. We've seen under the Biden administration, kids suffering at a mass rate of learning disabilities. And now we have AI entering into the race, and we have all of these tablet babies, and we don't know what to do with it. And so you have to evolve and you have to change how you're teaching these kids. And there's other things that other countries are doing.
Hey, he ain't lying. Quit giving these kids tablets and letting them just be on a tablet for 4-5 hours. Stop doing that. Put these kids to work. Tell them to go outside, man.
Take into consideration and start to implement. But the reality of it is this, is that you can't continue to blame other people for your shortfall. And the one thing that I do know for sure, and two things is for certain, is that Black people are going to vote Democrat regardless. So even when it goes back to his original point when he's saying that we need to acknowledge and exalt the people that are being successful and that look like us, he still hasn't talked about Brandon Johnson. He still hasn't talked about Lori Lightfoot. He still skips over Karen Bass because they're doing a horrible job. They look like us, and they are a reflection of what is wrong with our politics and why we continue to vote Democrat regardless of the people that's giving us what it is that they're giving us. I don't agree with any of what he's saying right now. And I think it speaks to the lowest thing.
But I think the one thing between you and me, Anton, is that all those people you just mentioned, I know these folks. Let's start with Karen Bass. This woman don't become a member of Congress to actually become the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus and then run in a city like LA, which, by the way, it doesn't just take the ability to just get a certain sector of voters. You got to build a winning coalition. This woman did that in LA. I was just with her in Long Beach, right, when we were at the U.S.
She's doing a horrible job.
Yeah, no, she's done a good job. She's doing good.
Darren, did you just say she's doing a good job in LA?
I think
You just said that?
I think she is doing the best to her ability in LA with the circumstances.
I'm not questioning. Let me be very clear. I'm not questioning that she's working hard and striving to do the best that she can.
Hey, I don't even live in LA, but I feel bad for the folks out there in LA.
I'm not questioning her intent in terms of whether she cares about citizens. I'm saying in terms of her efficiency, in terms of her productivity. Did you just say that she's doing a good job in LA? Because I know a whole bunch of people in LA that would say, hell no.
There are those, yes. There are some of the folks that tell me that, but I said some other folks tell me that, again, with the circumstance that she's under, right, with the economy that she's inheriting, with the lack of jobs, with all the different things that comes along with Los Angeles politics, I think that she's actually moving in the right direction. She has a very well-funded opponent right now. There's a lot of negativity out there about the job. But when I talk to you about the day-to-day services, making sure that the city have the basic services, Stephen A., trash being picked up, making sure that people actually can try to feel safe. She's doing her best to try
What
to
about
reduce traffic.
homelessness?
I mean, these are all.
Wait. We have
What about crime?
more police officers choosing to quit than ever before in Los Angeles, similar to over in Chicago. She's regularly operating at a budget deficit, can't even balance the budget effectively. He's saying that she's picking up trash. That is the most basic
No, but that's
that
what
you
people
should be
care about,
operating
Anton,
at.
and they do care about public safety. And I think public safety is a struggle for not just her, but for other mayors across the country. And it's a lack of
Let's
funding
go
from
over
the
to
state and the
Chicago.
federal government.
They're operating at a $1.4 to $1.6 billion budget deficit, and they're projected for it to be higher. They've been operating at a budget deficit under Lori Lightfoot. It's ballooned under Brandon Johnson. We don't want to talk about the fact that they spent city resources on illegal migrants and housing them, and we can't even track where the money was going as far as who it is that was benefiting from all of this money and sheltering and things like that. There's a lot of gaps and a lot of lack of accountability. But we only want to speak on. I don't even know how you can use Karen Bass as an example of what's right as a political person, as a mayor of a city, as a Black woman that is running the city into the ground. They don't even believe in voter ID.
Right.
They don't even believe in voter ID. What has Karen Bass done? Give me one thing that Karen Bass has done that's been good since she's been the mayor of Los Angeles.
I think that if you're going to look at this when it's all said and done, the people.
Answer the question, man. He simply asked you a question. What has she done that has been a positive thing? Answer the question. Well, I think if you look when it's all said and done, but you just said she did a good job. So what do you mean if it's all said and done? You just said she's been doing a good job. So to say that she's been doing a good job, which means that you should have some evidence to back your claim. So you just doing what the Democratic Party do, which is to deflect.
The city of Los Angeles definitely have some concerns about her leadership, right? That's what any mayor. I can make a case with mayors that people like them and people don't, right? But when you look at her ability to.
Yeah, but LA is the second biggest city in America. With what? How many people in LA? 4 million, 3 million, something like that. That's completely different.
Make a case with mayors that people like them and people don't, right? But when you look at her ability to understand what the circumstances, actually being a partner with the state, calling out the federal government, she's got to continue to deal with public safety. I agree with you on that, Stephen and Anton.
He's not answering the question.
But when you look at her ability to basically get the funding that is needed and get things done, I think ultimately she's got a tough race ahead of her. I think she's doing what she can do. And also, I mean, with the Olympics and everything coming, she's got.
You still think she's gonna get you still think she's gonna get support financially from a lot of people out there after the wildfires fiasco out there in the Palisades and all of that? You really think that's gonna happen?
The wildfires was another big case. But you look at her ability to be present, because one of the things that she got criticized for not being present. So during the wildfires, she was as present as she possibly can. And I think that if you look at the funding with the cooperation with the state and the federal government, she got to fix that. Yeah, she got to.
But you still haven't answered the question. What has she done? Give me one thing that she's done well in Los Angeles.
I think she's created jobs. I think she has definitely utilized her federal resources as a member of Congress to get money.
She's created jobs. How? What? Like, what is he talking about?
I think she has definitely utilized her federal resources as a member of Congress to get money to help with infrastructure, which has been a big concern with LA folks. And I also think that she's doing her best to try to figure out a way with micromobility and different things to reduce the congestion and the traffic. And she said publicly that the traffic and infrastructure needs in the city of Los Angeles is a top priority of hers. But she's also
homelessness, drugs.
I'm getting there. Hold on. Then you get to what she's doing around homelessness. And we like to call them unhoused, Anton, as well, because they're all citizens. Nah, they unhoused, brother. Don't see that. That's that disingenuous, that elitism I was talking about earlier.
No, that's that sensitive being a man that's compromised. Words hurt feelings. They homeless. Y'all trying to call women birthing persons now. Women, the Democrats don't even want to call y'all women no more. They want to call y'all birthing persons because, well, male and female and man and woman, it depends on how you feel, man.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
That's that conservative elitism right there. They're unhoused.
This is diversity, equity, and inclusion talk.
No, it's unhoused. Unhoused people.
What is the difference between unhoused and homeless? You ain't got nowhere to go.
life.
in Los Angeles. She's doing her best to find them a warm place to stay, prioritizing the women, while some unhoused men, they don't have enough shelters to shelter them
Warm
off.
place to
And she's
stay.
also,
Where's it cold in L.A.?
well,
Where the hell is it
like,
cold in L.A., Tharon?
wait, no, Stephen, you've been to LA. It does get a little cold at night.
Aaron, when is the last time that you
Really?
walked Skid? When is the last time that you walked Skid Row? I walked Skid Row just earlier
I
this
walked
year.
Skid Row about a year and a half ago. I walked.
Okay, so you know
I saw it.
what's really happening out
Mhm.
there. You really understand the drug problem. You understand that there's
Mental
needles
illness.
everywhere.
Mental
You
illness,
understand that you can't step over without stepping in some form of feces everywhere. Where are they cleaning up anything over in LA? What is safe in LA?
I mean, look, I think that you've been to LA. I've been on Skid Row. That is a isolated area of
No,
a
it's
lot of
not.
unhoused people,
No,
right?
it's
And
not.
it's unfortunate. No,
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I went to LA for a movie in December. Shout out to Tariq Nasheed. I went to go film for Hidden Color 6. I wasn't nowhere near Skid Row. I'm talking about, hey, you got $5. Hey, you got $5. No, I don't got $5. Get out my face. Like, I ain't gonna lie. They everywhere, dude. I ain't gonna cap. I mean, they was at the hotel I was at, just walking around in the lobby. And this is a prominent hotel I was in. Like, yeah, man. I ain't gonna lie. They all over.
it is. And,
Listen, I just stayed right there at LA Live with Crypto.
but you and I both visiting, Anton. Like, we're not citizens there.
I'm there regularly, and when
Okay.
I stay there, I'm looking at this monstrosity of graffiti that is directly across from
Mhm.
Crypto Arena. If you walk 2 blocks up the street and then you take a quick Uber, you're gonna see people sleeping along the freeway on the entrance ramp. It looked like Oakland.
Actually, Anton, you see that right down the block from the movie theater, which is right around the corner from Crypto.com Arena and the
I
JW
don't know who
Marriott.
defended
You
it.
actually
I wasn't near either of them, and I've seen a whole bunch of homeless people, bro. I couldn't even walk to the store without like 3 or 4 people either walking past them or somebody walking up to me asking me for some money.
see
Yeah.
that.
Right into the wrist. That's right. That's right. But
I don't
So
know how you defend this. Like, honestly, because we're not
Anton, what I'm telling
holding
you is
any
that
leaders
she's
accountable.
got challenges, right? And the difference between you and I is that I'm willing to work with her to offer solutions and not just come on these platforms and
No,
just
we need
criticize.
out. We need these people.
So
All
you,
of these lifetime
okay,
politicians
so you
that
vote her
don't
out,
even
then what's your
understand from a business
solution?
perspective. These are lifetime politicians. These are people that are a part of the establishment, and people that are in the bullpen that get some kind of incentive. All of these people sign the same letters. Karen Bass, down in Denver, Mike Johnson. When my man was over in New York, y'all former mayor, he signed the same list. The Houston mayor, before they practically ran out of money down there. And then you also have Brandon Johnson. They signed all of the same lists in order to get incentivized from the federal government when Biden was in there in order to get all these illegal
So,
immigrants.
Anton.
Yet we couldn't find no money for some reason. We found all of the money for the illegal migrants, but we couldn't find any money to do infrastructure, improve schools.
Anton finally cooking. He cooking right now. I ain't gonna lie. Anton cooking right now with this point.
Make sure that the rec centers are
The
open.
infrastructure is not.
Well, that's where I was going next.
Like,
Come on, guys. Let me move this along. Let me move this along. Let me move this along. Let me ask you this question: migrants, immigration. What kind of effect do you believe that has had on the African American community in this country? Tharon, I'll ask you first.
Black American.
You know, growing up in Georgia, there was always a concern that when you had immigrants who come into Georgia and other places, that we wanted to be able to have access to those jobs, right? And there's always been an emphasis that had to be placed on, like, if we have true American citizens who are here in this country, who are qualified and want to work, let's figure out a way to put them to work. Now, what has happened in this country over the last few decades, and even before that, we have had a migration.
Bro, he does this thing. This is what politicians do. He's so compromised. He do this thing that all of these politicians do, which is just to deflect and not answer the question. It's like, you don't need to give a book. You don't have to go to this like through this soliloquy before you get into your point. Just answer the question. This is what the Democrats do whenever you ask them a direct question. They get to babbling to get you off topic. It's a debate tactic that people do. When they don't have an answer to a question, they start answering and talking about other stuff that didn't have nothing to do with what you just said. Just answer the question. Gosh. Answer the question,
in this
man.
country who are qualified and want to work. Let's figure out a way to put them to work. Now, what has happened in this country over the last few decades, and even before that, we have had a migration of illegal and documented immigrants here. A lot of them are people who are DACA recipients and people who have been born here. But we also have some folks who enter this country illegally, and they're not trying to actually get a pathway to citizenship. And so what we see as an African-American community, Stephen A., is a confluence of, okay, when I go in this place and I look at this restaurant, or I go in this particular facility, all I see back there are people who I believe are either here legally or illegally. But then I would say to a lot of the Black folks in our community, okay, well, let's make sure that if we want to do those jobs, we should apply for them. And so I do think that there's a...
Black people do apply for them. Who do you think were doing these jobs before these illegals or legals people was over here in general? Black people were doing these jobs. This is the difference, though. You can pay those people less money. So it's not that black people are not applying to jobs. You just sat up here and said it and started the live. And the other argument was that ain't nobody hiring. So how on one end you gonna say that ain't nobody hiring, and that's why black people ain't gonna do jobs, but then you say, well, black people should apply for jobs because that's why they can't get a job. What are you talking about? He was just saying it. When you not saying that like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago? You was just saying it. You just said what nobody hiring. Now they hiring, they just ain't applying. No, it's just the fact that black people need to get paid for what they're owed. And these people that are coming from another country don't care. They are willing to take any crumb they can get to get access to America. Black Americans are not just owed a little crumb. We've been here since the inception of this country, and we deserve that. We deserve anything that anybody else would get because we were the foundation of America. So no, we're not going to work a job and get paid less money or get paid under the table on some BS or not have the benefits that we are not we shouldn't have or we should have, I'm sorry, or work a job where we getting disrespected. See, them immigrants, they don't mind coming over here and getting talked to and disrespected and treated any type of way because they just want a job. We put too much work in historically for us to not get treated that way. So what you're not going to do is sit up here and say that, whatever his name is, you goofy. Let's keep going, though.
A sentiment amongst the African-American community, particularly older people that feel that way. But I would tell you that a lot of these jobs, African Americans are willing to do, and they are applying for them. But you also have people who are here legally, who will come to this country, because not all immigrants are here illegally. Like them, a lot of them are not from places.
What are you talking about? What is it?
Other places, yeah.
Let me chime in. Let me tell you why I'm interjecting, because the belief is, yeah, of course, everybody that's here is not here illegally. We got that. But still, anywhere from 12 to 15 million people cross the border illegally. We all know that was the Biden administration telling us that, you know what, there was no crisis at the border when clearly there was.
Right.
I think that's a big reason why they lost the election, along with identity politics. Don't get me started with that. But ultimately, what it comes down to is this, Tharon. I think that you have a lot of folks out there, not just Democrat, not just Republicans, but independents like myself that look at it, and we look at the Democratic Party and we're saying black folks make up 13.6% of the population. We're no longer even the dominant minority. And you have a Democratic Party that's willing to sort of shove us to the side because they can afford to do it, because they can take our vote for granted.
Right.
So by being people who support illegal migrants coming into this country, that's a voting block that ultimately could work in your favor. You even have to, the state of California, you got people voting on illegal migrants being able to vote when you're supposed to not be able to vote unless you're an American citizen. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. How do you defend that as a liberal?
Let me say this as a Democrat, and I'm a moderate more so than I am a liberal.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Be quiet. No, you're not.
Let me just say this. Number one, I want to make sure that our borders are secure. All right. No one should be entering this country, particularly if you're entering this country illegally, to come over here to harm, kill, and rape people. I do not want those folks in the country. But the unfortunate thing is that a lot of those people are already here. So if they're here, I want them trying to actively seek citizenship. Okay.
Why? You don't even know what their history is back in their country. People can come over here. This is what people don't understand, too. Do y'all know that the majority, even in Mexico is the closest neighboring country to America. Obviously, it is the neighboring country to America. Do y'all know that the majority in crime in Mexico goes unreported and unsolved? I did a breakdown on the Ashley Gonzalez video, but I didn't post it on YouTube because it would have been too hot for YouTube, because I was speaking the truth. Do y'all know that the overwhelming majority of the people that come from these immigrant countries, these third world countries, but specifically a country like Mexico, like 90% of the crime either goes unreported or unresolved. Do you know what that means? That means when you have millions and millions and millions of people, whether they be legal or illegal, come over to America, you don't know what their criminal history is. They could have unalived somebody. They could have RAP3 somebody. I'm gonna use these words because you know YouTuber was sensitive. They could have unalived somebody, RA3P somebody, have had connection to the cartel. You don't know what their history is. You don't know what they're doing. So let's not have this mentality, well, let's just let them come over here and get access. No, they're here legally. They should be sent back home. And before you bring anybody over here, you should do a deep dive into who they are. So even though they may be a part of the higher percentage of their community financially, at the end of the day, you still don't know what their history is. You can I can only imagine the amount of people that's in America right now that have done heinous crimes against people, just completely just like I'm talking about to biblical proportions. Then done crazy stuff to people. You know how crazy the cartel is, doing crazy stuff to people. But then they come over to America because they want to run from the fact that because you'll get more street justice than you will over there than you will from the actual justice system over there because it's all corrupt due to the cartel. So the cartel will probably hold you accountable before the actual police will over there. But I can just imagine all of those people that have done whatever they have done coming over here to America. Why give them access to do anything over here? They should be sent back home. And again, that affects Black Americans because they don't do nothing but get stuffed and pushed into Black American communities. They don't do nothing but get stuffed into us. And we got to take on their BS behavior. We don't want to do that. We got way too much stuff to fix over here with our own community, which is why this conversation is being had. So to just speak from this perspective of how you talking, this is what most Democratic politicians do. So if anybody at this point, I mean, if you really care about the Black community, I'm gonna assume you anti-Black if you're a Democrat. You can be anti-Black and be a Republican too. I don't give a damn about either. But if you were just this staunch, hard Democrat, you are just anti-Black to the fullest extent. You anti-Black. I mean, it's crazy, dude. Let's keep going, man. And damn ain't no cuss word. I said damn. Damn is not considered a cuss word. So don't get me on that one. I said damn. I ain't say nothing else. Let's keep going.
If they're not willing to do that and they're over here committing crimes, we need to send them back. I'm saying that as a Democrat, Stephen A. However, we do have a lot of undocumented immigrants here.
Being illegal is committing a crime, you idiot. Do you not understand that is literally an illegal immigrant? Being illegal is committing a crime. Coming over to America with no paperwork, not legally, is committing a crime. So it doesn't matter what level of the crime, you're a criminal. You should be sent back home regardless.
I'm saying that as a Democrat, Stephen A. However, we do have a lot of undocumented immigrants here who are willing to work. I believe that if they're willing to work, they're not committing crimes, they want to be productive citizens. And
they need to go work back home. That's why their homeland is in shambles. Maybe they should go work back home. They ain't got to work over here.
To pay taxes. Let's figure out a way to get them a work permit, whatever state process you need to go. Let's make sure they actually are documented and we know where they're working. If they're going to be productive citizens to our environment and to our communities, and particularly in our agriculture.
If they're so productive, they can be productive back home. Shout out to AfroNet with the $20 donation on Cash App. Much love to you. I appreciate you. Thank you for the $20 donation on Cash App.
Community, then I think that we need to give those folks a pathway to get the proper permit to make sure that they're here. Lastly, I'll say this, is that there are a lot of people who leave this country and they say, okay, you know what, I'm here legally, I'm going to go back to my country, and then it takes them forever to try to come back. A lot of folks actually want to leave and come back in the right way, and that's something that I think there's a spirit of bipartisanship in Congress where folks can figure out that those who are here and got sent back or decided to go back where they were here temporarily on a work permit or school, if they want to come back into this country, let's try to minimize the time they need to come back.
If I go and I rob somebody and I get away with it, and then I go and start a business with the money that I robbed somebody with, is that justified? If I go and I sell drugs.
That would be the American power structure, Anton Daniels. I'm not disagreeing with you. But the same American power structure that you believe systematic racism doesn't operate, that would literally be the way that the American power structure was built. Funny how you know it applies when it comes to that, but it don't apply when it comes to Black Americans. Let's keep going.
With the money that I robbed somebody with, Is that justified? If I go and I sell drugs inside of my community and then I use that drug money in order to build a business around, is that justified? Can I do the wrong thing on the outset of what I purpose to do, and then I can justify a pathway to doing the right thing with the support of our federal government and our Democrats? Does that make it right?
That's what y'all Republicans, that's what y'all say what happened in the Civil War. We fought for you guys to not be slaves anymore. But why were we slaves in the first place? And you guys actually didn't fight. When they used that argument, make sure you understand, they didn't fight the white men in that time. They weren't fighting, maybe two of them, but they weren't fighting for black people to be free. They were fighting so they didn't have to be controlled by another system. They weren't fighting for black people to be free. That was just something that the power structure put in at that time. Abraham Lincoln put that in. So hey, blacks, you guys will get freedom if you fight in our war because we're losing. That's what actually happened. But it's funny how the logic, they understand the logic when it comes to this, but when it comes to other stuff, it's like, now the logic don't apply no more. Now, what racism? What are you talking about? Now they don't know nothing. But let's keep going, though.
No, the very foundation, and I would
exactly. That's literally the argument for reparations. Thank you, Empress. Let's keep going, though.
expect for you to understand this, especially with the deporter-in-chief, Barack Obama, because Barack deported way more people than Trump ever could. And
3.1 million.
I would expect for you to truly understand that, especially with the Supreme Court taking up birthright citizenship, which should not be afforded to any migrant.
Agreed. I really didn't do a video on birthright citizenship because, I mean, what's the point? Man, I was disappointed when I seen that, man. I was disappointed that they basically they gonna keep it, or they not gonna do anything to change it. I was disappointed, but it is what it is, man.
Anybody, because it should be abolished. It was for the descendants of slaves, for people that did not ask to come here. It should be abolished. It was for the descendants of slaves, for people that did not ask to come here, who had children here or was forced to work here, who had lineage here. And so now birthright citizen is being taken advantage of by illegal migrants that are coming over here getting dual citizenship. Chinese people come over here pregnant, they have children over here. And a lot of times they're also leaning into that in order to justify that they need a green card or that they should become a citizen or have a pathway to citizenship. You cannot come over here and do things the wrong way, because not only is it messing up what we have going on over here as far as how we should be allocating resources to the judges and the immigration process, it actually is disrespectful to the people that did it the right way. That's why you had so many migrants, people that are legal citizens in the United States, not supporting illegal migrants having that pathway to citizenship, because they did do it the right way and they believe in American values and principles, and they go about really taking care of us, paying their taxes, and really being model citizens in the United States of America. No, you can't do that.
Got you. But what do you say, Anton, to people that would bring up on the left? They'd bring up Trump and the fact that while he's dogged about his position when it comes to migrants of Hispanic descent or whatever, you've got white South Africans that are coming over here, and supposedly he's facilitating a path for them to come over here as well, and he's not as dogged in his approach towards them as he is towards people who happen to be of Hispanic descent. What would you say to that?
I don't support, and I'm objective across the board. I believe that everybody has to.
No, you're not.
I don't support, and I'm
maybe in this situation, but not in other situations.
Objective across the board. I believe that everybody has to come over here the right way. I do think that there are situations, and the Biden administration uses broadly. There are situations where people are being, genocide and so on and so forth that are happening in other countries. And I'm not talking about just white South Africans. I'm talking about in general. But if we're going to deport people back to Haiti, then we shouldn't give any kind of leeway to white South Africans either.
Yeah, who cares if they getting genocided? Nobody cared about Black Americans, so we was getting genocided over here. So who cares if we getting genocided? Because at the end of the day, anybody that come from a country where they become a refugee or they getting genocided, guess who still got to pay taxes for them to be over here? Us. So I don't care about none of that. I don't care about that genocide. I'm not going to wish no harm on no people or death on people, but who cares? That ain't got nothing to do with us. Nobody was there for us when we was getting genocided. None of these countries gave us a safe haven. So I don't care about none of that. I don't want to hear it. Genocide. Hey, that's tough that they going through that. I wish those people the best, but America should not be the safe haven for that. Don't nobody care about that. Kiss my ass.
So I'm objective in thinking that there should be very much an even playing field across the board as far as what a pathway to citizenship is supposed to look like. And I do not support illegal migrants coming into the United States of America and then gaining a pathway to citizenship. I think that has happened for far too long. And
the white South Africans aren't getting genocided. That is a propaganda machine that's being pushed. If anything, it's the black South Africans. First of all, South Africa was colonized. So it's like, why nobody talk about the genocide the South Africans went through? So if anything, if it was happening, which is not, you're reaping what you sow, if we're going to keep it 100. But if anything, unfortunately, the South Africans are genociding each other. The black South Africans, quote unquote black, are the colors, they call themselves colored, are genociding themselves, honestly. But they not even getting genocided. But even if the white South Africans were, this is yo. Unfortunately, your ancestors. This is you reap what you sow. And I'm not for it. I'm not saying that they should. I'm just saying, like, hey, it is what it is.
When the Biden administration sued Texas to keep open the borders, while at the same time advocating for money and national security and also at our borders, which also fed into what we was talking about in Taiwan and the Ukraine, and they tried to package all of that into one bill, that actually showed you how corrupt our Democrats are inside of our political system.
Tharon, before I got a couple of questions before I let you both get on out of here, and thank y'all both for y'all time. I really, really appreciate it. I want to lean back to what Anton had alluded to earlier when he talked about the shootings in Chicago, 39 shot, 6 fatally. Obviously, crime is a huge issue. That's something that all of us pay attention to.
On Juneteenth.
And he talked about
throw that in there, Stephen.
That's right. On Juneteenth, can't forget that. He talked about, the mayor in Chicago. He talked about what's been happening in the streets of Chicago for quite a long time and how nothing has been done about it. I think we've seen people. I remember back in the day when Spike Lee spoke out against Obama because Obama wasn't addressing it nearly enough. And he's from that area and he was the president of the United States and felt that more should have been done to bring attention to the plight of things in the city of Chicago. When you listen to a guy like Anton and other conservatives speak about personal responsibility, speak about addressing these issues, speaking about our willingness as a community to speak up about this just as vehemently as we've been speaking up when this guy Carmelo Anthony was convicted of first-degree murder in Texas a little less than 2 weeks ago. What do you say to that when those positions are brought to your attention, Tharon, in terms of what liberals or what folks on the left could be doing to better address these situations?
First and foremost, on the Democratic side, we got to start with this. Number one, we support the Second Amendment. But more importantly, Stephen A., we support responsibility.
Since when do Democrats support the Second Amendment? Since when y'all care about people having guns and want people to be pro-gun? Since when?
Number one, we support the Second Amendment. But more importantly, Stephen A., we support responsible gun ownership. And what does that look like, right? We have nothing against people who want to be gun owners. Now, in certain states, it's an open carry state. Everyone owns a gun.
At FBA_Empress super chatted $10. I wouldn't have been able to watch this straight through. Face exhaling emoji. So much babble. Thank you for all your work. Praying gesture emoji.
I love you, Empress. I appreciate you, love. Thank you for the donation.
But we also want to make sure that you lock the guns up and you have the proper storage. Now, let's get into some of the things that are leading to this crime that we're seeing in places like Chicago and others. You have a gang problem. And a lot of these initiations for these gangs are people that are young folks who don't have jobs, that don't have a good parental.
Now we buffering. YouTube don't like when you start speaking facts. They want to make your video buffer and all that. Let me go back. See if it'll fix. Now all of a sudden we buffering. Oh boy.
Like Chicago and others.
There we go.
You have a gang problem. And a lot of these initiations for these gangs are people that are young folks who don't have jobs, that don't have a good parental sort of environment around them. And unfortunately, these gang members are getting them very early and initiating them into these gangs. The other thing that's happening is that you have a big issue with people who don't de-escalate situations anymore. Hypothetically, let's say Anton and I, we were in LA, right? Because he spends a lot of time there. We get into a debate, we get into an argument. Back in the day, Steve, okay, maybe we would punch each other, maybe we get in a fight, and maybe even, somebody would break up.
Shot.
But now what happens, Stephen A., is that I got to assume that Anton may actually have a gun. He got to assume that I have a gun. And not only could he have a gun, he may actually use it. So what we're seeing with our crime stats is that people in America, and it's not just a black issue, it's everybody, right? That they're de-escalating situations. No more we're just fighting. They're actually using guns to shoot people. The other thing I would say is this, the issue around crime. We got to give people more access to jobs, right? I believe that.
Oh boy. Okay. Okay. So okay. First of all, most people in a gang are not in a gang because of an initiation. This isn't the Warriors. Like this isn't the 1970s. Most people that are in gangs in any major city are in gangs due to where they're from and who they're around. For the most part, people. First of all, everybody that's in a gang is not operating in criminality on a level, and that's the only thing. Most of the people that commit crimes in these communities are from blocks where they from. That's what you see more often. You more see the crime from people that's from where they from. So you from over here, they from over there, or it's more so what it is. And it's not even necessarily like you from over there, we got a beef. It's more so interpersonal violence when it comes to relationships. Oh, you got into it with my cousin. My cousin said he don't rock with you because this happened, so we got to get it. Like that's more so what happens. Not it's a game, so go ahead and put this gang, join the gang. Like like that's not happening in real time. Not like how he trying to make it seem. This is 2026, bro. These young kids, this I promise you, nowadays the hierarchy of gang culture and all that is not what it was 30, 40, 50, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's not. It's more so, oh, you from over there, you know this person, that's your cousin, so you cool because that's your cousin. You from over here, that's your cousin, or he know you even though you're not from over here, he know you are. You can come rock with us. That's more so what it is more than anything. It's not like, come on, man, come on, dude. He just talking. Like, oh man, I don't know. He just talking.
The issue around crime. We got.
Now he talking about jobs. That like
give people more access to jobs.
Again, most Black Americans have a job. So what are you talking about, dude?
Right. I believe that people right now are poor. They're hurting. They're hungry. Gas prices are out of control. And so they are using these guns and this violence to shoot people. And a lot of them are like turf wars. A lot of these are disagreements about family disagreements, about a partner or a woman or a man. And we're not able to de-escalate that anymore. And then
did he just say a turf war? This is not the Warriors. What do you think this is? Like, this is not the war. He think this is like the 1970s and it's the Warriors. It's not a turf war. What do you mean a turf war? That's what white people say when they talk about like a turf. Hey, dude said a turf war. Man, shut up, man. You don't even know what you talking about, dude. And it like, man, not an interpersonal relationships and all that. Yeah, sure, yeah, but a turf war. What are you talking about, man? This is not 1975, 1980, dude. Shut up.
A partner or a woman or a man, and we're not able to de-escalate that anymore. And then the last thing I would say is this, is that we got to deal with the issue around too many guns on the street. Again, believe in the Second Amendment, be responsible gun ownership, but the access to guns, and when evil people who are mentally ill, or people who are getting access to these guns to actually inflict pain and murder people, that in lies the problem. I mean, this also is our judicial system.
Well, y'all don't want to lock them up. Y'all want to keep everybody in and out of jail. Y'all like, no, y'all not tough on crime.
Justice system. A lot of these people are reoccurring folks. These are like revolving doors. These are repeat offenders.
Exactly, Shar. Meanwhile, Dems have been going soft. Literally, like, what do you? Come on, man.
System. A lot of these people are reoccurring folks. These are like revolving doors. These are repeat offenders. And
which would prove my point. Goofball.
And they're getting access to these guns illegally. They're breaking their cars. And so I think our police departments are in a very, very tough situation right now, because we also need more community policing. We need more technology to make sure that we can actually know where these guns are coming from. And when you have a murder, you have a case, you can actually quickly access cameras and not.
Well, they do know where the guns is coming from, but the justice system, so-called justice, the justice system and crime makes too much money. Like, you know how much these wardens and police officers, well, police officers don't make that much money, but like jails make so much money. So, I mean, they know where the stuff is coming from. They just don't care. I mean, the CIA planted guns and drugs in the community. They make money from that. They make money from stuff that they set in stone 50 years ago, 40 years ago. Come on, man. Somebody said, wait, defund the police is a Democratic policy. The police force need to be completely flipped upside down because it's all the way messed up. Excuse me. And it's definitely racist, but for sure, especially when it comes to arrests and things like that. But I mean, you gotta be tough. Again, if I was a dictator, people would be beheaded publicly. That's just me.
I'm gonna be clear, not actually preying on people, right? But getting cameras set up in the right places where we can actually solve those crimes. So this is a big issue. There's not just a Democratic thing.
Well, cameras is more so focused on getting people for speeding and getting people for not using a blinker 100 yards before a stop sign, more than they focused on people actually committing real crime and real stuff that's going on out here. So
I think it's an American problem right now.
That's crazy.
Well, it's an American problem, no doubt about it, but it's definitely partially a black problem. We can't escape that. And Antoine, I'll ask the same question basically for you to answer, but I'll put it this way. Many predominantly black neighborhoods in cities like Atlanta and Chicago still struggle with violence, failing schools, poverty despite decades of political promises. So what's the biggest reason those problems persist in your estimation, and what are we going to be able to do about it, particularly considering what you just heard Tharon say?
So funny because if you look at the track record of the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, he literally ran on the premise of defunding the police. He has completely lost control of his police department. I am in a group chat with multiple police officers in Chicago, and they don't trust his leadership. He has no support for them. He removed ShotSpotter that then would help the police officers respond more effectively to crimes that happen inside of these communities. They are juking the stats. Yes, they are. They are juking the stats, and they're reducing how they're reallocating how they're classifying crime. A lot of these crimes actually go unreported. These are not.
Well, that can go both ways, Anton. You can make the stats look less of a problem, or you can make the stats look more of a problem. So if you believe it happens on one side, there's no way you don't think it's possible. It's impossible for it to happen on the other side too.
Issues of people that are having some kind of domestic dispute and then it spirals out of control. These are people that are targeting other people, carjackings, taking them to ATMs and having them remove money, telling them to give you your phone and so they can get your password. These are drive-bys. When 12 people were shot over Juneteenth, right, this past weekend over in Chicago, that was a drive-by, and they had over 113 shell casings on the ground. They are demonizing the police. They don't support it. They don't want to speak on that. They don't want to be accountable for the fact that they advocated for the police or against the police. They want to say more community policing. That doesn't work. They implemented the Safety Act over in Illinois. That didn't work. They try to put in the no bail system. That doesn't work. They're so busy trying to pander for votes instead of solving for the problem by being tough on crime and holding these people accountable. And that's why you also see these teen takeovers. It is predominantly from Black children, teen takeovers. And I'm not talking about takeover as far as like car meets and stuff, but teen takeover.
That's still a teen takeover, Anton. The reason why you don't want to justify that as a teen takeover is because the majority of the people who are doing teen takeovers with the car meets and literally taking over the whole street and doing spinner and doing donuts and stuff are Latin kids, are Latino kids, Mexicans, and kids from Latin descent, and whites. It's not majority Black. So it's funny how the teen takeover applies when it comes to a bunch of Black kids going to some mall and running around, which should be called out, which is BS, and that's a product of the bad parenting that goes on sometimes. But it's funny how you're not talking about the teen takeovers when it comes to that, but you only want to talk about this. So, I mean, both of those things have to be called out. That's not just us. But I mean, I get it. He's still correct. There are some teen takeovers where it's just Black kids, but teen takeovers is not exclusive to Black kids. But let's keep going.
Are happening across the United States of America. They're woefully inadequate. They don't have the technology. They can't follow them on social media to be able to preventatively stop. And then they don't even have the tools to hold the parents or them accountable once they find out that something is happening. Now our police departments are reactive. They're not proactive. They can't solve the problems, and they don't have the support of our politicians. And that's why you see what's happening inside of our community. Nobody is even scared of the police. They'll approach the police. I see multiple videos all the time of people talking to the police disrespectful because they don't have any kind of regard for them. Because,
well, we have freedom of speech. So as long as you don't make a threat to the police or make an admission to a crime, then you can talk to the police any type of way you want to, because we have freedom of speech. So it sounds like you have an issue with that amendment, Anton. Come on, man.
we've created this culture.
And I'm not saying people should go up to the police and do that. I'm not saying they should, but That's the part of a right that we have in America.
Where now cops are bad based off of the uniform and the
You can't say that it's okay for Chud the Builder walking around and calling people the N-word, and if we respond, that's the problem. But it's okay, but it's not okay for people to record the police and call the police a B word and then act like, hey, you're supposed to respect people. Like, come on, man.
Because we've created this culture where now cops are bad based off of the uniform, and the majority of those same cops are actually from those neighborhoods that they're policing.
Tharon, I'm going to end this interview by asking you both this last question, and I'll start with you. Imagine we're having the same conversation in 2040, about 14 years from now. What would have to happen between now and then for Black Americans to be undeniably better off? I'll start with you, Tharon.
Yeah, we got to deal with the root cause, Stephen A. And this is where I think Anton and I agree. We got to make sure that the Black family structure is in place, but we can't sit up here and kid ourselves. Not every Black child that's born in this country is going to have the ability to be born in certain areas where they're going to be able to thrive. Not all Black kids are going to be born in a two-parent household. I was not born in a two-parent household. And so that parent, that man or woman, that husband or wife, that father or mother has got to basically be able to do what they can to make sure you deal with the root cause of the issue. And that is that we got to deal with the issue of poverty and access to a quality education.
I agree with that. The number one thing that we can fix on a local level is Black men and women being together and raising their children together. I will say that, with the man being the head and the woman following suit and the children being up under that.
And that's why I'm a huge proponent of making sure that public schools are fully supported. Then you got to get into the ability to teach people how that if you're going to own a gun, you got to be a responsible gun owner. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe that people should have guns to protect themselves. There's a lot of folks who get guns to hunt. Then the third thing that we got to do, we got to deal with this issue around hate and mental illness. And I truly believe that if we're having this conversation 20 plus years from now, Stephen A., the issue around mental illness and anxiety, depression, these are all things that we got to deal with. But we got to limit the ability for people to get access legally and illegally to guns that are with the true intent to go out here and actually kill people. We got to reduce that.
Yeah, all that is just the younger generation just complaining and crying that life is hard because they sit around all day in the house doom scrolling on iPads. That be these iPad kids. These little kids don't be depressed and all that. It be these parents giving they butt, letting them play the game all day, let them doom scrolling these iPads and sitting there, let the YouTube play with Cocomelon and sit there for 4 hours. And no, that's why the little kid is depressed and weird and he don't know nobody, he ain't got no friends and he's an outcast and he going through all this stuff because they don't play outside. They don't have no physical activity. That's why he fat and he 11 and he morbidly obese because the parents ain't doing their dang on job. So all that is just this younger generation don't want to take accountability for nothing. And life's hard and I got to work. Yeah, you got to work. Yeah. And again, that also all that mental. I'm not saying people don't have mental health, but you can mention all that is just this crybaby soft internet little kid generation that's coming up now. That's always crying and complaining about everything because their fathers ain't around to go in their chest. That's the issue that's going on now. But let's keep going.
Antoine, final say for you, man.
And the food that these little kids be eating too. Y'all be feeding these kids this food that mess with their psyche and mess with their mental, and that's why these little kids messed up because all these red 40s and hot Cheetos and Wingstop and pizza and burgers and McDonald's and all that. And that's why the little kid messed up.
Actually kill people. We got to reduce that.
Antoine, final say for you, man.
I think that we need to completely divest ourselves against the Democratic Party. And we need to get back to our original conservative values and roots, which the foundation of that is family, God, and then some sort of morality behind holding ourselves accountable. We need to get to snitching and telling, because let's be clear, we all know who the shooters are. We all know who the drug dealers are. We all know who the jack boys are. And we all know who the people are that are committing the majority of the crimes inside of our neighborhoods. We have a
I don't know who we is. I don't know nothing about nothing. And that ain't got nothing to do with because it's I don't know nothing about none of that. I don't know what you talking about. You mean you know. I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't got nothing to do. I don't know nobody that did nothing.
Cultural problem. And not only do we have a cultural problem, we have a cult following for the Democratic Party. And somehow,
but I agree with most of what he's saying, though, for sure.
Some way,
at least in this part.
they have done a Jedi mind trick on us.
Somebody he's speaking French. I don't know nothing. I'm not saying that just to say because there's no snitching. I'm genuinely man. I don't know nothing.
Somehow, some way, they have done a Jedi mind trick on us that we need to vote and we need to support people based off of identity because it's so funny. I could look at this guy, right? Not you, Tharon. I'm just speaking of some hypothetical guy, and we'll say I'm gonna support him because he's black. We don't do a character check. We don't find out if he's married. We don't find out if he beats his wife. We don't find out if he's actually a decent person, if he's a fraud. And in so many instances, we don't force people to pull the receipts, which then we then make a fool of ourselves. And instead of us actually taking accountability, we say, well, you know what? Well, look at this person and they're doing well. Well, look at the good that they did. But we have lost our way. We are a godless people. We have allowed for women to lead our households. We allow for people to say we want partners instead of we want husbands. And we do not have any kind of backbone on saying the uncomfortable things so that we.
Partner is a homosexual term. He right about that too. Stop calling your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband partner. Partner is a homosexual term.
And we do not have any kind of backbone on saying the uncomfortable things so that we can get to the solution, and nobody is willing to actually be honest with ourselves. We have lost our way completely. We have walked away from God. We have walked away from our conservative values, and we've walked away from things that's right as far as promoting the best for us in culture in order to subsidize our lifestyle by saying that, well, at least we are part of the go along, get along gang. I'm not for it. I actually don't. I think we should tear the whole system down. And to answer your original question, in 2040, we will be here talking about this and having the same conversation, and we will be worse off than we ever have been unless we do those things.
Yeah, you're probably right about that unless we do something about it. Let me close by saying this to both of y'all. First of all, thank y'all both for taking time out of your busy schedules for being on this call. And I'm going to put myself on Front Street. Obviously, I've been incredibly blessed and fortunate to be as successful as I am. All right. And I'm a dad, and I'm in a very, very good position to be able to provide for and take care of my family, not just my immediate family, but my extended family. I say all of that to say this. I happen to know and agree with both of y'all wholeheartedly. As proud as I am as a dad, one of the greatest injustices that I've ever committed is the fact that I had 2 children out of wedlock, which is the only time in my entire life that my mother was disappointed in me. That's the only thing that ever disappointed her about me. I've been left back. You understand? She didn't. I believe in you. You know, I believe in you and all that stuff. But when I did that, she was so disgusted. And I happen to know that y'all are both right about that. When you talk about the structure of the family and being together and building from that premise, that's what it's all about. And to do otherwise just makes the road a hell of a lot harder. And I'm saying that as a brother that's pretty well off at this particular moment in time. So I appreciate what both of y'all had to say. Can't have a conversation and not be authentic on my side of the fence. There's just no way around it. Y'all are both right when y'all bring that up. I appreciate it. And I also want to share with the audience, this will not be edited. Every conversation that we had here, every word. Anton, I saw you giving me props for that when you came on my show. It's the truth.
No, that's who you are.
I'm not editing anything out.
I respect
that.
I
really, really appreciate y'all both. And y'all know y'all are both welcome back on the show anytime. Thank y'all from the bottom of my heart.
I appreciate Tharon, and he's a really good guy also. I just wanted to say that. I respect your work. I actually did a lot of research and understand who you are. You are a very, very intelligent brother, and I have a lot of regard and a lot of respect for you.
Yes.
Just wanted to let you know.
And I'm very happy to have met you, Tharon. Seriously.
Yeah,
seriously.
same thing, guys. Thank you, Stephen A. Anton. It's been an honor to debate you. And thank you, Stephen A., for this opportunity, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate both of y'all. Y'all take it easy, all right?
Cool. All right, y'all. That's good. That's gonna be the end of the show today. That's gonna be the end of the live. I appreciate y'all coming through.